What's happening, man? I see you, my brother. Welcome to the 5th Annual Mental Wealth Expo. I am so happy to be doing this in Newark, New Jersey. You know, the last few years we were doing it in New York City, man, but I really wanted to be in the Brick City this year, so shout out to Newark. Sorry that we starting a little bit late, but, you know, it's going to be I don't want to say a long day, a few hours, so, you know, sit down. And I hope that y'all truly, truly are here and have the intention to learn something today.
Amen, amen. Hello, Newark. How y'all doing in Newark? Y'all are so beautiful. Y'all
Make some noise for Dr. Alfie, y'all.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for being here. All right, so we're going to be off the stage really quick, but the first thing I want to do is something I always do. I'm going to ask y'all, we're going to set an intention real quick like, all right? So what I want you to do is indulge me, sit up straight, put your hands on your lap. We're going to do it real quick. It's going to be 15 seconds, and I'm going to do it too. And what I want you to do is put your hands on your lap. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes or look down at the ground. I'm going to invite you to take a deep breath in, blow it out, take one more in, blow it out, and then I'm going to invite you to set an intention for the next 10 seconds. I'm going to count down 10 seconds. I want you to hold a positive intention in your heart and in your mind. We're going to go now. 10 seconds are up. Take a deep breath in, blow it out. You have just practiced meditation. So I want you to give yourselves a round of applause for practicing meditation.
That's right.
All right, so that's one tool I want you to take with you. You're going to get a ton of tools today. So the last thing before Charlamagne and I leave the stage, I want to do two things. That's why I have my phone in my hand. One is we want to recognize through Ms. Linnell, the commissioner of the New York City Department of Corrections. A bunch of her colleagues are here today, taking off work, came out here to support. And so if you're here, raise your hands. Department of Corrections, New York City, raise your hand up in the air so we can see you. All right, so we wanted to take a moment to recognize them. And then the final thing I want to say is thank you all for being here, echoing my man Charlamagne and God. Thank you all for, thank you all.
That's right, man. Make some noise for yourselves.
Yes.
Like, the most important thing that we could be learning to do nowadays is to protect our peace, man. You know, the most important thing that we can be doing right now is just investing in our mental wealth. And the fact that y'all are even here today, that's the first step in doing that. So y'all really should be making some noise for yourselves.
That's right. All right, and we're going to leave the stage, but we're going to welcome one of Charlamagne's favorite authors. She's a beautiful sister. She's brilliant. She authored the book, The Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health, which Charlamagne talks about all the time on The Breakfast Club. So as we depart, I want you all to please give a warm welcome for our beautiful sister, Dr. Rheeda Walker, and the beautiful ladies of the Queens Rising panel.
Good morning, good morning. How are you all doing today? Come on, we're gonna try that one more time, won't we? How are you all doing this morning? I love it, I love it. We are here now for our Queens Rising panel, and so I anticipate that our guests will be coming out momentarily. Can we show them some love as everyone's coming out? Yeah, come on, we're a family. We're all gonna sit together on the lovely couch. How are you doing? Did you introduce us? No, because I was anticipating that we would all introduce ourselves in the way that we would prefer to be introduced, if that works for you. Does that sound good to you all? Yes. And so we can start with you, Angela. In fact, we will just start with actually a couple things. Everyone introduce yourself in the way that you would like briefly, and then also share 3 words or less what mental health or mental wealth means to you.
I'm probably not going to be obedient on the 3 words or less because you came to me first, but good morning, everyone. My name is Angela Rye. I have a podcast called Native Land Pod where we say welcome home, y'all. So I'll say that first to everybody. It's a privilege to be here with my dear sister and my other sisters, the queens of this panel today. And I just want to say I just am so proud of you all for focusing first on your mental health. How many of you all have been feeling a little heavy? Yeah, I have too. And so I want us to take this opportunity to lean into whatever we're feeling, accept what it is, and hopefully we step into joy on the other side of this panel. Is that okay? All right, well, I'll take it. I will defer to my good sister right here.
All right, thank you, Angela. Attorney Corey Minor-Smith, and I would like to say that mental health means to me acknowledgement, acceptance, and advocacy for those who are not able to speak up for themselves, who may not know that they're sick, suffering from anosognosia, and I will take that to pass it to my good sister, Minaa.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. My name is Minaa B. I'm a New York City-based therapist, and I'm also the author of the book, Owning Our Struggles. And when I think of what mental health is, I think the core thing that comes to mind is community care, but also social emotional wellness. In my background, I used to work with children ages 0 to 5, but also working with adults. And I find that often when we neglect our emotional health, it trickles into our relationships, it trickles within how we show up in the workplace and in other dimensions of our lives. So I just encourage you to think about what your social emotional health looks like and what it looks like to continue to tend to that for the rest of this evening. So thank you, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Iyana Anderson. I'm a licensed social worker, and I am a mental health educator. And mental wealth to me means emotional sustainability. So I think of that as consistent investments in our mental health and our overall whole self.
And I'm Dr. Rheeda Walker. I'm the moderator for our short conversation this morning with regard to Queens Rising. I'm the author of The Unapologetic Guide to Black Mental Health. I'm a professor, licensed clinical psychologist. I'm excited to be here, and I have 2 words: psychological fortitude. And that's what mental health means for me. And so our first question actually goes to Corey, if it's okay with you. Can you talk about stereotypes, which impacts a lot of us, and tell us specifically how stereotypes impact Black women?
Thank you for that question. It's a very important question, and it's something that continues to be a barrier for many of us in seeking help and treatment. But some of the stereotypes are that we have to be strong. Who feels that way? Y'all got y'all capes on right now? Take them off. No. That you have to be strong, that you have to take care of everybody else, and maybe you are of a faith base where your religion, your spirituality, whatever it is, causes you to believe that you need to go to the altar about any and everything, and that there are no other things that you should rely on. Otherwise, that will cause your faith, your Christianity, whatever you believe in, to be less than. And I am encouraging you today to understand that God does not give us more than we can bear. And I take that to mean because we have resources in the community. We have people who have been trained, who have been educated to help us understand the treatment, to understand what medications we may need to take, what programs we may need to be able to participate in to help us to navigate life and all of its obstacles. So in order to get rid of the stereotype, get rid of the stigma, we have to understand that mental health is real and that there are resources that are available for us, and to not be that person that's literally drowning and a boat is passing by and you say, no, I'm going to wait on Jesus, and a ship comes by and you say, no, I'm going to wait on God, and a plane or a helicopter comes by with a ladder for you to climb and you still say, no, I got to wait till I go to my house of worship. And then you die and you go to heaven or wherever your afterlife may be, and you say, I was waiting on God. And he said, why? I sent you a boat, I sent you a plane, I sent you a helicopter, and those were your resources. So don't ignore the resources that are available in the community. I failed to mention I'm the author of #Driven, which is a motivational memoir that is used as a resource for families and friends that have a loved one living with severe mental illness. It's often left out of the conversation. Schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, anosognosia is devastating. It's a lack of awareness, and I encourage you all to not succumb to a lack of information and awareness. Take advantage of the resources that are available to you, such as all that are up on the second floor. Thank you.
You know, too often folks ask for help because they do reach out for help despite some of the stereotypes, and they hear, well, just pray about it, right? And I'll say always, well, pray for a mental health professional. You know, pray for someone who's going to help you use your cultural strengths and resources in order to be able to get you through the challenges that you may be experiencing. So thank you for that, Corey. One of the other challenges that we also deal with a lot is generational trauma. And folks have been talking about that, I think, more so in the media and in popular conversations, more so than in my career ever before. So, Minaa, can you tell us about generational trauma, maybe define it also, but also in the context of healing for Black women?
So to start off with defining intergenerational trauma, it's literally when the psychological effects of trauma gets passed down through the family system. And we don't realize sometimes that we remain loyal to a system that is dysfunctional and we don't even realize it. So think about it in your own family where some of us, especially in the Black community, we're used to sweeping things under the rugs. We don't talk about it. We pretend things didn't happen, even if it's harmful, even if it's abusive, even if it's disrupting the family system in a negative way. We might sweep it under the rug. We may also engage in emotional suppression. Oh, there's no such thing as depression. You just need to work a little harder. You're just having a bad day. That's how intergenerational trauma can show up. And when I think of healing, I like to think of healing from the concept of at some point someone in the family system has to be a disruptor. You have to say, I'm going to disrupt this system of people pleasing because it's not working for me anymore. I am going to disrupt this symptom of sweeping things under the rug because I want to talk about how you harmed me and you just want to kiki at Thanksgiving dinner and act like nothing happened, right? And we don't realize that by remaining loyal to this system, this is how trauma continuously gets passed down through the family. Now, when I'm talking about disruption, has anyone ever heard of the black tax? Yeah? Okay. So for those of you who haven't, the black tax helps us to understand that for Black families, when somebody starts to accumulate wealth, it's difficult for that wealth to be passed down through generations because, depending on our family system, poverty, trauma, our wealth goes backwards. And if it's not going backwards, it's going horizontally. Now I gotta help my mom, I gotta help my grandma, I gotta help my brother, I gotta help my sister. I might even wanna help my best friend. I wanna help the people around me, and so I don't have the ability to now accumulate resources and wealth that can get passed down through to the next generations. And I know that can be very, very difficult to see the work that you do and that money that you accumulate and having to spread it across the system, but it makes me think about healing. And sometimes we think that healing is just about being a disruptor for the next generation, but healing is being a disruptor to the current system that's already existing and saying, my healing is going to create a ripple effect, and it is also going to go backwards. Because my mother, who is emotionally immature, maybe she needs to see and witness me embody a version that she just didn't think she had permission to be. Maybe my sister needs to see me model for her that it is okay to speak up in the home, that it is okay to have needs and express that my needs are valid, right? And so I want you to think about healing from the concept of it being a ripple effect, and that it's gonna impact your neighbor, it's gonna impact your peer, it's gonna impact your grandmother, your sister, the people within the family system as well, and that is how we start to break cycles of generational trauma.
I appreciate that, Minaa, in part because, you know, one of the things that's different about us in the Black community is that we do community. So we don't operate as individuals. So in a lot of contexts, when you think about mental health, it's about the individual person and what they are dealing with and who they are and what their disruptions are. And a lot of the traditional work doesn't look at the community, doesn't look at the whole family. And so what you're talking about is healing through the individual and how it impacts the whole family. And that's how we do. That's who we are. So thank you so much for that. You know, I do want us actually to check in with the audience shortly if we have a couple minutes, but before we do that, I do want to just acknowledge that, you know, we really are different, and especially Black women, just the way that we move is just, it's just different. And so I want to, you know, hear from Iyana with regard to self-care in particular, and how do self-care practices differ for Black women, including women who may identify with the LGBTQ community, compared to individuals from other communities?
Yes. So, I mean, I want to acknowledge, as you said, that, self-care for Black women is totally different from other groups. So I think first and foremost, for other groups, a lot of times self-care might have that individualistic aspect that you mentioned, where it's just me or more so focused on that personal wellness. And also, I think sometimes it may more so be based in relaxation, where I think for Black women, it has been, I think, in the history of it, based in just surviving, And I think with that, Audre Lorde says it best, where she says, caring for myself isn't self-indulgence, it's self-preservation. So I see that a lot. So just to give you guys a few examples. So I think for us, self-care is community-based, as you mentioned, right? So I think of, there's been a lot of social clubs, right, where there's run clubs now, different things like that, but there's also sororities, which has been big things for us as well, too. And I think sometimes a good brunch, right, a good brunch can also be something that fills us up as well, too. But I think also with the community aspect overall, there's something that's felt in community that's fulfilling, healing, and then also helps us to experience joy when Black women are in community together. I think also self-care for us is intergenerational, right? So it's also based in tradition, right? So it's something that maybe we've seen our moms, our grandmothers do, right? And I think even just coming from a spiritual aspect, being in nature, things of that sort. Then also I would say self-care is also, it's sacred. I like to say that it's not only just sometimes taking care of ourselves, but it's also resisting. It's also reclaiming, unlearning, and liberation. And I would also, I think, lastly, just say that self-care is also innovative. I think today is actually Black Girl Day Off. So I think when we see that there's needs that exist, we make it happen. So that's what I would say.
Yes. Did y'all know it was Black Girl Day Off?
Yes.
Some of y'all want to get up now, like, let me get out of here
Rest day.
and go take my day off. And actually, if we could just briefly check in with the audience, are there things that come to mind for you all that are, specific or unique ways that we do self-care, or some of the stereotypes that we have to overcome? Anything come to mind? There's a woman that I can see, but I don't have my eyeglasses on, but I can tell your hands up. What do you want to say? Uh-oh, we're not going to be able to hear. Yeah, I mean.
They can pass it down, pass it down.
We need somebody to work it. He has a mic.
Oh, you have a mic. You want to give that one to her?
They could just come up
You
here.
want to come up? Perfect.
See how we do things differently? We're in community. I'm like, you want to take the mic? Yes, I'll take the mic. Sure.
We go get our hair done and we stay all day.
See, the importance of going to get your hair done and staying all day is that you're in a moment where you're being mindful. The person's doing your hair and you are in the moment. Have you all thought about getting your hair done as self-care? Yeah, some folks have. For those of you who haven't, when you're in the chair, just think about, like, this is my time. Like, tell yourself, ground yourself. Don't answer the text messages. Those folks are going to be okay. Be in that moment with yourself. Thank you so much for that, sis. I have another question for you, Angela, if you would, because there's a lot going on in our society right now. There is a lot going on. And so even in that context, can you talk to us about balancing career and family and friendships and personal wellness, all the things? Because that's what we do as Black women, right? We do all the things.
We do all the things. I do not believe in balance. And I know that is not the thing that you want to tell people at the Mental Wealth Expo, but one thing I hope y'all know now is I am not going to lie to you today, tomorrow, or yesterday. So I don't believe in balance. I think, sadly, we have forced people into thinking that there is this perfect way where you can juggle all the balls at the same time and nothing will fall, that you can remember to pick your kids up on time, that you can remember to make dinner, that you can run your business and not ever miss a tax deadline. Okay, I'm alone on that. That you can remember to run something to FedEx. I got to send something to FedEx that I've been shipping for 2 weeks, y'all, okay? So I'm just saying, like, I don't believe in balance. And if somebody has the formula, please raise your hand so I can sit at your feet and learn. But I will tell you what I do believe in is that we have for far too long, because this is a Black Queens panel up here, and on our Black Girl Day off where we are working to help get free and help get you free, I will just say that our burden has been too heavy for 400 plus years. And sometimes balance looks just like, sis, I see you. I recognize you. Your crown is a little crooked. Let me straighten it up. You look a little hunched over. You look a little downtrodden. Let me help to lift you up. Sometimes balance looks like an encouraging word. Sometimes balance looks like going to see your therapist. Sometimes balance looks like going to buy that pair of shoes you don't have no business buying, but you know you worked too hard and walked too long and you deserve them. I know I need to take something back. But all I'm saying is, balance doesn't look the way that they've told us it looks. Sometimes balance means taking a moment for yourself. Sometimes balance means taking care of a loved one. My mom is battling breast cancer right now. And so one of my highest honors is being able to be a part of her care team. We have a sister in this, well, we're not in New York, but for those of you who live in New York, there's a sister being targeted right now by the President of these United States. Tish James, who is the New York State Attorney General, is being targeted. Balance to me looks like having her back the way I would want somebody to have my back. That is what is required of us. And yes, it doesn't always feel good, but that is what is required of us in this moment.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And actually, I want everyone to speak to, if you can, just balance, because balance looks different for everyone on different days, you know, different phases of life. And so we can all speak to balance and what that looks like and what you recommend or what you think about when you think or hear the word balance or lack thereof.
Well, like Angela, I don't necessarily agree with balance. I call it managing, because you're managing the best that you can on each and every day with the resources you have at that time, with the knowledge that you have at that time. And I also speak from a caregiver, care partner perspective, not knowing that was what I was doing as a sophomore in college when my mother asked to live with me. My mother, who lives with schizophrenia, a huge challenge, but to finish school and to manage also taking care of her in terms of whoever was able to provide the treatment for something that I didn't understand at the time. So when you are managing your life, you're trying to pursue a career. I call it caregiving while career building. We have to learn how, with the resources, with our team, with our tribe, with our sisterhood, who can help us, who really has our back. Who is able to take your call, will take your call, because some people, they trying to do their self-care and they're not answering the phone. So who can you really rely on in times of need, in times of crisis? It's important for us to understand at the same time that we have to take care of ourselves. Hence my shirt, permission to pause. You have to give yourself permission to pause. Like old school, when they used to give you a slip to go to the bathroom, for those who are so reliant on rules and policies and procedures, I encourage you to give yourself your own policies and procedures and that you enforce them for yourself. Give yourself permission to pause, figure things out, work things out. Write them down, make a plan, create your team, because you never know when you may not be able to be there for a loved one that you're responsible for providing care. And you also want to make sure that someone can help you in your times of need and times of care.
So I'm with Angela. I do not subscribe to balance at all. The literal definition of balance is to give something equal distribution. And I know for me, I can't show up equally and give my time and attention to everything that I have on my plate. One of the things that I talk to my clients about is thinking about it from the perspective of everyone in this room has a cell phone. I know you do. At 100%, your cell phone works, but guess what? When your cell phone hits 20%, can you still make a phone call? Can you still send a text message? Can you still scroll on social media? Absolutely. There are times where 20% is my best. I'm not always going to be 100. I can still be effective when I'm at 20. I can be effective at 30. But on my cell phone, I have a little system where it says, when you hit 15%, it's going to go into save battery mode, and it turns yellow. And at that sign, that's when I say, oh, I need to slow down now. I need to recharge. So I have an internal system where I recognize I need to be able to see and understand when my body is saying, I got an attitude right now. If you look at me, I'm gonna be annoyed. So that helps me understand I need to plug back in. I need to recenter myself, because once I hit that 15%, once my battery turns yellow, you're not gonna like talking to me, right? But when I'm at 20, when I'm at 30, I'm still effective. I don't always have to be 100. Right? I'm giving my best with the little that I have, and that's how I like to live my life, and I call that living in harmony with the things that I have on my plate.
And I'm going to echo everyone else and also say I think each season looks different for all of us, right? And I think right now for me, I'm just navigating it, right? So one day it looks like I got it together, and other days I'm just trying to figure it out. And I think that it's something that we have to give ourselves grace with, right? Does anyone have a guidebook or a rule book to life, or has anyone done this before, right? So I think with that, it's giving ourselves grace. And I think for me right now, it's going to therapy and working with my therapist and just saying, like, I got a lot on my plate. How do I, prioritize these things? And it's not just, it doesn't just end in the session, but also the practice that I put in after the session to try to create that harmony for myself.
It is. Angela was just saying harmony is a good word. Are you all taking notes? Okay, I just wanted to be sure. I mentioned I'm a university professor, so I want to know that you're taking notes, because this feels good, right? It feels good. And then you hit the parking lot, kind of like for folks who go to church. The sermon felt good, you clap and you hoop, and then by the time you get to the car or to the train, it's like, what they talk about? That person pissed me off, and you forget all of the good energy that you had. So I hope if you aren't already taking notes, I see you getting your stuff out. Yeah, y'all go ahead and get some notes so that tomorrow and through the week, you'll be able to reflect on what you were able to get here today, because there's some powerful energy out here. And again, thank you all. Can we just take a moment to just thank yourself for taking Black Girl Day to be here. I just want to briefly check in, with Angela with just one last question before we wrap up. Have you all heard of microaggressions? How many of you experience microaggressions sometimes at work? And professional folks who go into settings where sometimes you're the only one, or there's somebody else, but you still the only one. You all know what I mean. In those professional kinds of settings, like navigating that stuff. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, Angela? Just like navigating those spaces where you're one or one of the only, and folks are saying things like, the things. Just go ahead and take it.
I actually want to turn that into a responsibility of this room conversation, if I can. We know that microaggressions are real. They, in so many ways, especially when you look at policy and how it's unfolding in this country, they are turning into macroaggressions, the kind that won't just target you at work and say a little thing and harass you in an email, but they will actually dismiss you, right? Not because of your capabilities, your qualifications, or what you're doing, but just because you look like this panel. So I think what I would actually ask us to consider is what we can do to make our collective loads a little bit lighter. If you are a Black person that runs a business, make sure that you're hiring us. If you are a Black consumer, make sure that you're supporting us. If you are someone that has enough capital to invest in a business, make sure that you're sowing a good seed. And the only other thing I will say on this Black Girl Day off is, y'all, sometimes we need to give each other a break. We need to walk in harmony. We need to extend grace. And as far as I know, I don't think there are any clones or AI bots in here. Is everybody a human being? Raise your hand if you're a human being. Raise your hand if you're a human being that's had a bad day. Okay. So I want us to also remember that just because a sister had an attitude with you one time in 2015, I need you to release that thing in 2025. That's not a microaggression. They had a bad day. And in this day and age, in a Project 2025 era, you might have a few bad days. Just say, sis, are you all right? Yeah, somebody said, I'm going to do it right now. I love Black people. We're going to call and response at church, even when we're not at church. You could do that. If you see your brother, say, brother, you all right? Sibling, are you okay? Let's just try to do that. Let's not be the microaggressors. And certainly protect your sisters, your friends, your siblings, as they are also experiencing macroaggressions.
Yes. Thank you for that, Angela. And if you haven't spoken to the person that's sitting next to you, I'm a Southerner, y'all. We talk to everybody. if you haven't spoken a fist bump the person who's sitting next to you. Make sure you do that before you leave today, please. Say yes. Be warm. So okay.
I'm all focused up here. Here. Yep. Gotta pass it down.
Okay. So we have to wrap up. If you all will, at least, and we can start with you, Iyana, just tell folks where to find you and, so they can get some more information about the work that you're doing, any programming that you have going on. So let's just all do that before we wrap up.
Okay. Again, my name is Iyana Anderson, and you can find me on Instagram at Well Together LLC. So I provide mental health education to communities, organizations, and colleges as well too. Also, I have a podcast called Mental Health Unscripted, where you can also find me. And finally, I created a mental health pocket guide to be something easily accessible that gives us lots of information and resources about mental health that we can carry and take with us. So that's also something that's available on my website and Instagram as well too. I just want to lastly just say it's just been a pleasure and honor to be in community with you all today.
You all can find me at my website, minab.com, where I have a bunch of resources. You can subscribe to my newsletter. You can also listen to my podcast, Mindful with Minaa, which is available on all podcast platforms. You can also find me on Instagram with the name Minaa B, and at 2 o'clock, I will be selling books on the second floor, so I hope to see you there.
Somebody is excited. Thank you for the hype. Yes. Again, attorney Corey Minor-Smith. You can find me on Instagram and most all platforms at Corey Empowers. My website is CoreyEmpowers.com. And I have a digital program called Mental Wealth Wednesday, where I feature guests to come on to talk about different aspects of mental health and wellness, but specifically severe mental illness. And this month, the great Les Brown, for those of you who have followed his career, he will be my guest, and that will air on the 4th Wednesday this month. Les Brown. So thank you very much for Charlamagne the Guy, iHeartRadio, and all who have sponsored this event. This is a tremendous opportunity. Please take advantage of the resources that are available up on the second floor. Also on my website, you are able to download my go-to mental health guide, which provides resources for mental health and wellness, movies, books, podcasts, Facebook, all kind of groups, because I didn't know what to do when my family was hit with a crisis, and I encourage you all, if you don't know already, to lock in 988 if you or a loved one is suffering with a mental health or substance use crisis. 988 instead of 911. Thank you.
Woo! Okay. I'm Angela Rye, everyone, at Angela Rye on most social media platforms. Shouting out again my podcast, Native Land Pod. We just recorded our 100th episode where we say welcome home, and you all are certainly welcome there. Lastly, I think in this era, it's really important for us to be building community. We worked really hard to establish a coalition called State of the People. I hope you all will check that out as well at stateoftheppl.com. And last but certainly not least, when we were coming up here, our good brother Leonard said, he asked me if I'd set my intention. And so I would say to you all, as you enjoy the rest of the panels, get equipped with all of the exhibits and the exhibitors upstairs, that you keep your intention in mind as you maneuver throughout this day. And if we can, stand to your feet and give a round of applause to Leonard, Charlamagne the God, McKelvey, for doing this event and the Mental Wealth Alliance. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. Angela closed you all out, but I'm Dr. Rheeda Walker. Rheeda is spelled R-H-E-E, D as in diamond, A, and I will also be selling books, so you can see me up there at 2 o'clock at the same time. Go see Minaa, then come see me. And you all have an amazing rest of the day. It's Corey at 1.
Dr. Rheeda Walker, everybody.
Our phones are amazing, but they're taking something from us. Our time, our focus, the moments that matter most. Have a great day.
Are you serious? Rise and grind, New York
No one
City.
cares.
What?
Your waffles are getting cold.
What the
Put your phone down. Watch where you're going. Look up.
Hey guys, just left the West Village. I'm on the Highlight. Oh, hello. Just, yay! Wait!
Put your phone down. You're here to scroll at a ball. At Noble, we don't want you addicted to your phone. We want you to live more. That's why we'll pay you to use your phone less. So for heaven's sake, please do yourself a favor and put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down.
Oh, that Sade felt good, right? Woo! Hello, everyone. How are you feeling? Yeah. What an amazing and important way to spend a Saturday afternoon. My name is Devi Brown. I'm a wellness educator and a healer and also a proud board member of the Mental Wealth Alliance. So we are so excited to be here for year 4. Thank you. We're gonna have a very deep panel. And to get us ready and before I introduce my guests, let's have a centering breath together. Is everybody in for that? Yeah? So go ahead and get comfortable, like really comfortable, like uncross a couple things. Sit forward, let your spine be straight and your belly be soft. And we're just gonna take 3 deep breaths in to really lock us into the present moment and anything that may arise. So I want to invite you, if you can hear the sound of my voice and you're seated and comfortable, to gently close your eyes. And we will begin a nice deep inhale in through your nose, filling your belly, rising in the chest, and exhale. Deep inhale in through the nose. And release. And last breath here together. Deep inhale in through your nose. Really let it stretch your belly and your chest. And beautiful. Thank you for settling into this space with me. You can gently open your eyes as you're ready. So again, welcome everyone today. We're getting ready to enter into a very deep and nuanced conversation about religious trauma, what it means, how it shapes our sense of self, our sense of belonging, our connection to faith in God, and how we can begin the work of reclaiming agency after harm, if that was present in your life. We are just blessed to have these 2 men on stage, absolute acclaimed stage today. I want to start by introducing the first incredible voice, Dr. Teddy Reeves, who is the Senior Curator of Religion at the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture. He's the creator of a really phenomenal documentary called God Talk, exploring how Black millennials reimagine faith across traditions. And I was very honored to be featured in that film. Welcome, Teddy. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Glad to be here.
And next, we have Carl Lentz, strategist at Transformation Church and host of the Lights On podcast. Once a high-profile pastor, Carl has since embraced sobriety and a public path of healing. He now supports others through coaching, helping destigmatize addiction, infidelity, and challenges with mental health. Thank you so much for being here, Carl.
Honored, thank you.
I think to really get this conversation grounded, before we start, religious spaces kind of historically can be both sacred places of healing and sources of profound harm. Religious trauma impacts identity, self-worth, and the ability to connect with the community and with your own relationship with a higher power. Healing in this space requires so much courage, safe spaces, humility, and new ways of belonging. So I think to kick off this conversation, and I'll start with you, Teddy, what is your definition of religious trauma? How do you even relate to that word, that concept?
Thanks so much, Devi, for the question, and I'm really excited to be here. I think to define religious trauma, I first ask the question of what is religion for that person, right? That religion means something different for each one of us, depending on the tradition we came out of, depending on the experiences we had. But I will say, as someone who grew up in the South, in a Black Baptist church, I would say my religious trauma came from the experiences of people in my Black Baptist church, right? And so I think religious trauma is the vestiges of something deeper, particularly for people of African descent. It's the remnants of something that we have continuously been dealing with since our arrival on these shores, right? That religious trauma is not something that happened in the 90s only, in the 2000s only. Religious trauma started in 1865 once we set our foot on these shores, right? It was 1865 when we're free from these shores, but when we get here in 1719, right, it begins at these points. So religious trauma is anything that has caused you, called soul wounds, that's called mental wounds in you and around you at the hands of your religious institution or those who are leading it. But I think also religious trauma is something we experience at home, right? That it isn't always at the hands of the religious leader or leaders, but it is something that happens when the text, when tradition, when doctrine is used to justify behavior or justify discipline or justify mistreatment of individuals. That become the remnants of religious trauma. I just always like to center it, particularly for people of African descent, that religious trauma didn't start in our hands. We inherited it, and we've been passing it and perpetuating it since then.
Wow, thank you. Carl, how do you relate to that word?
Well, I'd just like to say, firstly, your outfit's incredible. And how's everybody doing? You guys good? It's good to see you. I think I see this angle from this situation from two angles: as a perpetrator of religious trauma, as a pastor that lied to people that trusted me, and a victim of, in some ways, of having things done to me. So my life right now consists of holding these two things with a beautiful tension, because religious trauma is different than other trauma in that we're attaching it to God. And anytime that happens, things get really beautiful or really complicated. And so I enjoy seeing people get free of that fear that often accompanies this kind of religious trauma. And there is a brighter day for people who are willing to dig for it.
Ooh, wow. I just want to say thank you. I'm going to say this to you all day, but just like thank you for the courage and the humility of being here and speaking to this in that way, like the power of what you and your unique viewpoint can bring to the world. It's really profound. I'll start with you on this first question, Carl. You know, how can we practically disrupt the cycles of shame and secrecy that often keeps religious trauma as an unspoken experience?
You got to speak about it. I mean, I love when people get the courage to actually get it out, because the power of shame will get people to stop talking. And the longer you do that, the more that pain will continue to work through your whole body. And so it seems like it's a long road to heal from religious trauma, and it can be. But the first step is just getting with somebody that you trust to get it out. And say, this is how I feel, because the first thing you lose with religious trauma is agency. You have outsourced your conviction, your power. You have to go to someone else to get something else. And the first step to reclaiming that is saying, wait, I have a voice. I feel, I see, I sense, and learning how to trust that again, it's a beautiful journey. But that's where it begins. It's just making a choice to say, from this second on, I'm gonna reclaim my own power and start to ask these questions that I've had for a really long time. And so I love pointing people right to that one moment of just sitting with somebody you love and saying, this is what happened to me. And even if that's all you did, it's enough to start this journey of healing that never ends until we're gonna be in heaven.
Never ends. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Teddy.
I think to that point, Carl, I think a big part of it for me is that many individuals don't even know that they're traumatized. Right? That we got plenty of people sitting in mosques and churches across our country, across our world, not knowing that every Sunday they're traumatized. Right? That every Sunday they're walking around with psychological trauma in their body and not knowing it, right? That someone is willing to parse out their identity, their way of being, their existence, right? Example of some people are sitting in churches where women can't lead, based off a Pauline text that was poorly interpreted when Paul says that women should be silent, when Paul was specifically talking to the church at Corinth because the women were being loud in the Colosseum. And he was like, look, y'all can't talk when I come around. To mean that women can't lead in leadership roles, right? That's religious trauma, right? That we have plenty, and our churches are full of women, particularly black women, that are sitting in these spaces not knowing that the stifling of leadership starts early, right? And it often starts at the hands of black churches and black religious spaces. And so I think that particularly for when we're looking at millennials and Gen Zers and even Gen Xers and up who were raised in the church, right? Gen Z is the first generation that's not raised in the church, not raised in a religious institution overwhelmingly. And so we see for these three older generations living that they are riddled with religious trauma. Right? That we literally are living in the after effects of people believing that women cannot lead, right? And that black women cannot lead. And so really believing that, we got folks who are walking around believing their sexual identities is up for debate because of a text. When we can't even read a liberatory text when the story of Jonathan and David is a story not of platonic friendship. Right? But we're not talking about the hermeneutics and the theological conversations and questions and readings that need to be done in the text. And so I think part of this is that a lot of people are walking around not knowing they're traumatized, right? And that becomes the story of also a group of people who walk around consistently traumatized from injustice, from hate, from all of these things. And so when you compound religiosity to it, we are a spiritual people. It only continues to perpetuate bondage and shackles and ways of being that is not conducive for our freedom. And so I think that is also something we need to sit with.
I was going to say, do you find that when you talk to people and you want to know whether they know they're traumatized or not, I like to say, what do you think God's posture is? If you were going to have a conversation with the God that you claim to believe in, what is his posture towards you? And right away you can find out, because most people would think he's judgy, he's mean, he's mad. What would be the posture of God? And that's when you find out quickly, wow, how long you been living like that? Is that heavy to walk around every day thinking that God is looking at you like this? What if there's a different truth to find?
And who would want to serve a God like that?
Apparently a lot of people in white evangelical circles.
That is true, brother. That is true.
Because then we get into the fibers of the way that we connect God even to the trauma we experience in our homes and in the world and in systemic oppression, and why we are seeking out to serve punishment in the first place.
And why do we give God human problems?
Okay.
God didn't do that to you. The church, that person did that, right? That we are all broken beings, but name the thing, right? The text tells us to name the demon, right? Jesus asked the demon the name for a specific reason, because he's saying, what is this thing that I need to uproot? I need to name the person that harmed me so that we can uproot and begin to find out, are we going to reconcile or are we not going to reconcile, right? But if we're unwilling to name it, but we put it on God, right? I'm like, God ain't hurt you. These people hurt you, right? And the God in them is what we can be reconciled. We can decide whether we want to be reconciled back to one another through it. But I think that when we talk about church decline and all these other things, it's often because people put the hurt on God, right? And to your point, versus putting the hurt and the blame where it needs to sit and us walking through that.
Yeah. Oof. It's funny when you... When you say giving God human problems, like the first thing that came to me is like, yeah, if you're looking at God as being this punishing, this judging, so we're saying God doesn't have tools? That like God isn't emotionally regulated, have the ability to see past personal feelings of, irritation and indignation?
And I was going to say it's a lot of people will, God's voice sounds a lot like their dad that was or was not there, that was good or was not good. And that's a really interesting thing to look at because that's the tape people play. God's voice is the dad that you either hated or didn't have, maybe you loved him, but that's not necessarily reflective of the God that we know. And that's a very tricky thing for people to start to unwind, but it's worth it because you might have been listening to the wrong tape your whole life. What impact might that have had? And that's the thing about trauma. If you have relationship trauma, beautiful relationships are the carnage. If you have church trauma, your relationship with God can be the carnage, and that's not fair. We're owed better than that, you know?
I think from a very practical sense, what I often offer people to that point is one of the first things to do in kind of freeing yourself from that is to free yourself from the language that God has to only be your father, right? I refer to God as she, right? You can put she in the text sometimes. When it says he, that is we did that, right? That's an interpretation. But that if you're referring to God and you give God back God's autonomy, because God is not a man nor a woman, when you give God back God's autonomy or saying God is a good God, right? Removing the pronouns allow you to remove the harm that was done to you by those personal individuals and give God back God's autonomy, right? That I will say Mother God quickly, right? Because if you have a poor relationship with your mother, with your father, and God is your father, then you and God, that's why you don't pray like that, right? Because you don't know how to talk to your daddy. So like really having this freeing moment to say, no, like God is autonomous of us. We are God's hands and feet in the world, but God is autonomous from me as a being. And so God is God. God is spirit. God is this thing that's beyond me, but is in me and around me. And so I don't have to give God, again, human problems, right? That they hurt me, but God loves me. Right? And so if I sit in that I am beautifully and wonderfully made, right? That I don't enter my relationship with God in sin. I enter my relationship with God in love, right? And when I enter with love, everything else works itself out, right? But when you enter from a sinful point, you look at God as this, oh, God is going to turn God's back on me, or I'm not good enough from God. I'm beautifully and wonderfully made. That's what the text said, right? And it said that when he or she created me, I was good creation, period, right? Everything else will work itself out. That is my humanity working right now. But I'm good, right? That if I hurt my brother here, I'm still good. The text gives me how to reconcile with him. But God still loves me, period, right? And I think that freedom also helps us release ourselves from that trauma.
That is so good, yeah. Oof. I'm looking at this clock and I'm like, they better put 60 more minutes up here because I have all the questions we need to hear today. I think next, and I know this is, Carl, I'll start with you here on this next question. You know, for those that have decided because of often unspoken harm that has happened, who've decided to step away from religion entirely, what are some ways to reconnect with spirituality or meaning outside of traditional frameworks? How do you build that walk, live in that walk, if you have stepped away from your family's church or just, all of it as a system?
I think religious institutions, whether it's a church or whatever we're going to call an institution, it's only as powerful as the door that you entered it from. So we always try to tell people the ideal is to have a relationship with God outside of that institution. From there, if you enter a church or a place, it's a different succession of connection. If your only connection to God is through an institution, what happens when the institution goes bad, or the pastor lies, or the pastor lets you down? All of a sudden it all falls down. But if you enter this, whatever your faith leads you towards, if you have a relationship with God that supersedes that, which it should, there's a lot more strength. So I always encourage people, I'm not interested in what box you check or what you call yourself on Facebook, Christian, Catholic. Like, what is your relationship with the living God? How do you define that? From there flows everything. And most people, if you ask them about God, the first thing they do is talk about their church. And there's a little bit of beauty to that, but there's a whole lot of problems with that too. So I just like to tell people you have a lot of time, take your time, There's no rush. God is patient. And it's better to go slow and be right than it is to rush back in and be wrong again. And often people, when they're traumatized, they just take the first option there, and sometimes you get back in the same cycle. So I just like to point people to, church is something that is important. We've made it. It can be beautiful. But the design is to always have a relationship with God that is unattached from that. And if you have that, typically you're going to want to build a community. You're going to want to be in community with people that believe the same thing. But if I have my relationship with God correctly, humans can let me down, and it will not knock my view of this God that I believe saved my life. And there's something you can stand on when that happens. I'm hurt and I'm disappointed and I'm sad that this person or this church let me down, but it has not changed my standing with the God that created me. There's power in that.
Wow. Oh, that is so good. That is so good. And I think even in that, and I wish we had the time to get into it, but for me, that also brings up that when you are kind of looking at your church, if you did come from a place that felt harmful or just not the most aligned fit to you being in presence with God, like have a discerning eye of how much of this community might actually be caught up in like social hierarchy, right? Or like ego, because I think historically churches also can become places where the root isn't about God and community and service. It's about what positions you hold and what you take that to mean about yourself within the systems.
I also, to add to both of you, I think we also get to nuance this language around reconnecting, right? Because what I tell people, if you left your church, you still with God outside in the club, period. Right? It doesn't require you come back into something to be reconnected with the divine, right? That I think when we're looking at data just alone, millennials and Gen Z are overwhelmingly identifying as nones, N-O-N-E, right? That we are nor are we Christian, are we Buddhist, we are living in this very pluralistic space in our faith. Right? We are Christian, but we get our tarot cards read. We're Christian and we do crystals. We're Christian and we meditate. Like we are living in this very spiritually fluid space. And so I think part of what this is when we're dealing with this religious trauma and many folks have walked out of the space, it's to cultivate the space you've walked into, right? If the space is podcasting, stay in the podcasting lane, right? God is with you there. It's a ministry, right? If your space is at the music festival, right? I think if your space is here at the Mental Wealth Expo, this is a space where we're having church, right? We're talking about the divine. You can eat, you can break bread, you can fellowship. We can even sing a song and leave, right? That we have done the work of the church. And so I think it's honoring your call, honoring where Spirit has called you in this season. If it's outside of the church in which you were raised, flourish. Right? Flourish there, experience the divine there. This is what's happening today. This is where Spirit is moving today. And I always want to say we're not doing anything new. We're reclaiming old practices, right? That our ancestors, when we got here, overwhelmingly, majority of us were Muslim. We practice traditional African religion. If you are a descendant of chattel slavery in this country, your people were not Christian. Christianity was happening in the north. It was in Ethiopia. Or unless you're Ethiopian, that is where that was happening for us. And so what we're seeing today with millennials is us reclaiming free thought, right? We're walking in line of Zora Neale Hurston. We're walking in the line of James Baldwin. We're walking in the line of Frederick Douglass. These folks who understood that their relationship with the divine was not regulated to a church, right? But that the church becomes one extension of what Black folks were able to create, particularly for us in this country, to resist injustice, right? To fight against oppression. And it is a beautiful space that we should keep cultivating. But not all of us are called to be in that space. And so honoring where you are called, honoring where Spirit is leading you, and healing your trauma there, right? That sometimes the hand, as Dr. Thema Bryan would say, the hand that harmed you can't be the hand that healed you, right? And so you got to go get healed. And if you want to reconnect, make sure that you are healed before you go back to the space that harmed you. And honor where you are and where Spirit may have you. If that's the club, if that's Twitch, if it's YouTube, wherever that is, wherever your ministry has called you to commune with the divine or conjure with the divine, honor that.
Thank you. I think as our final question on this stage, I'm going to make it a two-part because I got to get an extra question off because this time went too fast. I would say for each of you, you know, how can communities of faith begin to repair trust with people who have been harmed? And for anyone in the audience listening right now that is quietly struggling with their own story and experiences, how would you encourage them to take a first step towards reclaiming agency? So little two-parter, rebuilding as a faith community and internal building as an individual.
I mean, I'll go 15 seconds, you go 20. You know, it's like,
No, we're
talking about church, so we should
minutes
just
talk.
disregard the time anyway if we're talking church. No, I think I point people to truth. It's worth digging for truth. I'm a Jesus follower, so if you know your Bible in here, and the Bible talks about putting on the armor of God, it likens truth to a belt. Because if you have everything but you don't have a belt, everything falls down, and you are now immobilized. You can have the best outfit in the world on, but if your pants fall down, you're not going anywhere. And in the church world, you see a lot of people who have the fancy stuff. They got the sword, they got the helmet, but they don't know the truth. And they can't figure out why it never seems to fit right. And I like pointing people to a mirror first. How do I feel right now? What's in my body? What's in my soul? What do I think has happened to me? And then you grab a telescope and think, what would a life of freedom look like rather than fear? And then you get a magnifying glass and go, what's one step I can do today? And that little succession, before you know it, you're on this walk and you're like, how did I get so free? Because you don't get free in a day, it's a journey. So I like looking at it like that, like what's true for me? What do I believe is true? Don't judge it, just stand on it. And from there, you know, every day is a new step to find some deeper truth. But there's a better day than just sitting where you've been hurt. It's just a tragedy to me when people allow the horrible actions of others to rob them of a relationship with the living God. There's a better opportunity.
Thank you.
I would argue for institutions, when I'm talking to clergy, whether they're Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, the question is always, how do we get young people? How do we get young people? You're not going to get us, right? Like, we gone, right? But it's not as, and it's the data shows us, millennials and Gen Zers are not walking away from God, they're walking away from church. And to your point, Carl, earlier, if we can begin to do the work to see them as not mutually exclusive, right? That it is the job of religious institutions to name the harm, right? That you have, our institutions and the people within them have to do the hard work to reconcile. How are we causing harm? How have we caused harm? How do we support the work of what young people are creating in the world today to experience the divine? If they at the club, create something for them to go to the club, right? If they like to do, you know, I used to be a pastor many moons ago, and I remember having a young adult party, and I was the executive pastor, and the senior pastor was like, we having a party? I said, absolutely, we having a party. Why not? I was like, and we having drinks. Why not? Because they're going to drink when they leave here. Why they might as well drink when they're here, right? But we can talk about responsible drinking. We can talk about what it means to be the church. We can talk about the first miracle being wine. You think Jesus didn't drink it? Right? Like, we can talk about what does it mean to practically live this thing out, right? But it takes us to have these hard conversations. It takes us meeting these generations where they are. It doesn't take us compromising the story that Jesus lived, Jesus was born, and Jesus died, and on the third day Jesus got up. What it takes us is to really acknowledge that Jesus lived in a world in which is not similar to the world we live in today, but also is not much different than the world we lived in today. There were the same folks, same demons, same everything going on. They just didn't have the same technologies we had. And so really looking at that and having those hard truths. I think if I'm talking to an individual or anyone here that is in this point in their journey, I would say very practically, if you journal, if you audio record yourself, whatever that is, I would encourage you to write a list. Everything the church or your religious institution told you was wrong about you, right? I'm not this because I do that. I am not this because I do that. Write it down. Don't hold it back. Just write it all on a list, vocalize it. And then begin to write on the other column everything you believe about yourself, right? I'm powerful. I'm loving. I am this. I am that. Look at the thing you were taught to believe that you were not because you didn't follow this, but everything you believe about yourself, right? If the list of things that you were told were not good about you outweighs the things you believe about yourself, you're in religious trauma, right? Name the demon and begin to work through that list, right? If you are like, I'm not this because of this, I encourage you to go get a commentary and begin to read the text for yourself, to realize this text was written for a specific demographic of people at a specific time for a specific reason. Right? I'll free you one better. If you're still reading the King James Version, let the King James Version go. Right? That brother was not that there's anything wrong with it, but if we're going to name the demon, right, because your list is on the left side, that brother was a drunk who was making money, so he converted the Bible into English to sell it. It's not even the closest you're going to get to the original text. The NRSV or the NIV is the closest you're going to get to the original Greek and Hebrew. So if you're talking about really working through religious trauma, it comes from a very practical level of how are you reading the text? What is your hermeneutic of seeing yourself in the text? Connect yourself to amazing theologians doing work around the things on your list, right? If you feel like you're a black woman and you can't lead, there's theologians like Candace Bimbo, Melva Sampson, all of these women who are doing work around, no, we actually are worthy. If you believe it's because of your sexual orientation, there are theologians that can walk you through that. There is work and love and purpose and honor in the divine for you. And so do that work to begin to unravel and heal yourself. The text says, servant, heal thyself, right? Know thyself and heal thyself, right? Because if God lives in you, then the healing and everything you need, we profess the Holy Spirit, right? Even if you're not even Christian, the Spirit, we believe that there's something. That thing is on the inside of you. If you begin to do the work and begin to change the outside of you too, right? And so give yourself over to that work.
D, I'll say this, I give you, beautiful, brother. I think just as a handle, if you wanted an idea, if you're in this space and you're searching, one of the most beautiful prayers you can pray, because the Bible points to the renewing of your mind being the real conduit for transformation, not your actions. So if you just say, God, help me renew my mind, if there is a God and he does hear us and we believe that he does, he will do that. It doesn't, when was the last time you thought again? When was the last time you renewed your mind? And the Bible points to this picture of us having the ability to shake it off and say, let me think again, let me see clearly, and God will answer that prayer. So it's just if you find yourself lonely today and you leave here and you're thinking, I don't know what to pray, Lord, help me renew my mind, is something you'll never be sorry you ever said to heaven.
Wow, I do not want to get off this stage.
We got to take up an offering now, so if you could just look under your seat for an envelope.
I would make the joke and say
Get
lock
the
the
bulls
doors,
going.
but
I just want to say to you both first, I have such a deep admiration for each of you and how you are carrying yourselves in the world and what you are doing with your lived experience to stay deeply connected with God, to serve, but to also bring people to God and to bring people to whatever healing they deserve to have happen within themselves. Thank you both so much. Your honesty, your wisdom, the courage to bring all of this into this space. I think religious trauma is very deeply personal. It's collective, and what we have heard here is that it requires our own internal investigation, supercharged discernment, accountability and self-compassion and compassion for all, ultimately. So as we close, I really want to remind everyone in the audience right now who's listening, who may be navigating this quietly, internally, whether it's your experience, your children, your parents, however it presents, you are absolutely, as you've learned now more than ever, not alone in this process. And I want you to know that to a certain degree, like if you grappled with this in earlier stages of your life and decided not to go back to try to figure that out, life is changing. The world is rapidly evolving and changing, and resources, people, communities, just the language to understand what you may have walked through in your life is now more readily available than it has ever been in human history, in the history of humanity. We are, really coming to such a precipice with how we experience God, but also how we experience ourselves with our mental health and our physical health. So there are more answers than ever. Please start looking for them. You know, even really refined Google searches could be a great start to lead you somewhere. Looking up this term, walking in rooms with this term. Recently, Teddy, I didn't have a chance to share this story with you, but I'm based in LA, and I was meeting a friend for a studio session, and we were having a talk about your film outside, and I opened the door, and I'm not gonna say who it is, but the room was filled with incredible musicians that we know and love. I opened the door, and the last thing I said as I walked in, I go, well, yeah, because that's religious trauma. Them hearing me say that word, the whole room went silent. And they're like, can you say that again? And I go, religious trauma. And you just saw all these light bulbs go off in people because they didn't have that framework of language. And that turned into hours and hours of conversation about this. And I know, you know, each one in the world on their own search, but I say all that to say again, there are more resources than ever. There are more ways to really understand what your lived experience might have been, but also where you can go from here, and how you can continue to build faith in your heart and in your life and connect to a higher power. So grateful for everybody in this room. Thank you for being here today. I'm Devi Brown. Teddy, would you mind sharing that?
Yes, I will be at the book table at 1 o'clock. The first 100 people that join us there, the museum will be giving you a free book. It's our double exposure book. It looks at African-American religion through various traditions, Buddhism, Christianity, Santeria, Voodoo, through photography. And so I encourage the first 100 people, it's a free book on behalf of the National Museum of African-American History and Culture.
Oh, thank you so much for making this possible for us. Dr. Teddy Reeves, Carl Lentz, thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I have your attention really quickly? At this moment,
Our phones are amazing, but they're taking something from us. Our time, our focus, the moments that matter most. Have a great day.
Are you serious? Rise and grind, New York City.
No one cares.
What?
Your waffles are getting cold.
What the
Put your phone down. Watch where you're going. Look up.
Hey guys, just left the West Village. I'm on the High Line. Oh, hello. Just, yay! Wait!
Put your phone down. You're here to scroll at a ball. At Noble, we don't want you addicted to your phone. We want you to live more. That's why we'll pay you to use your phone less. So for heaven's sake, please do yourself a favor and put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down.
Say the big chef for Deontay. Yeah, so I appreciate that. But that shit look comfortable right there. Shit, out of the food I just ate, that might not be.
What up? Right now. Okay, nobody knows I'm gonna do this, but ask for forgiveness, not for permission. I want you guys to help me do something. By the way, my name is Trent Out Loud. I'm the moderator of the King Talk. Round of applause for all the gentlemen of King Talk. All right. My approach to mental health is a little different from the average person. I like to be happy, I like to be excited, and not your traditional Hollywood sitting down on a couch crying. Elliott and I will talk about this. But I want to get the word out, so I want you guys to help me. Everybody stand up, everybody out your seats, everybody up top too. And could you guys take out your cell phones, start recording, or open up Instagram, Charlemagne, you too, come on. Instagram, TikTok, or something. And I want you guys to put the word out that mental health is fun. We're gonna do some call and response like we're at a concert, all right? You guys ready? New Jersey, what up? When I say mental, y'all say health. Mental, mental. When I say iHeart, y'all say radio, iHeart. When I say Shala, you say May. I mean Shala. Yeah! Mental health, baby. Let's go. All right. Y'all post that. Make sure y'all tag iHeartRadio and Mental Wealth Alliance, all right? Okay. Elliott, you mad at me for doing that?
Very.
Yeah. Mental health has got to be exciting, man. All right. We're going to get this party started. First of all, let's introduce each of you guys. Go ahead, Elliott.
My name's Elliott, Connie, and I'm a psychotherapist.
I'm Deontay Wilder. I'm the former heavyweight champion of the world.
In the news. I'm Bryan Arenales, Love Island USA Season 7 winner.
Y'all should let me introduce myself first. I'm Dometi Pongo, hosted with True Life Crime on MTV and the 48-hour CBS podcast.
All right, let's start up with the first question. And you guys jump in. I'm not going to ask you to jump in whenever you want, okay? What are the dominant myths about black men and mental health?
I'll kick it off. I think one of the main myths around mental health for black men is that mental health and self-care is one size fits all, right? I think in the zeitgeist, there are a lot of conversations that I feel really play toward emotional vulnerability. Expressing ourselves, being transparent, and all of those things have their place. But there's also a part of us as men that's a testosterone-filled need for catharsis, right? So there's times when a spa or relaxation might not give me the fulfillment that watching the bronze bomber knock somebody's head off might give me, right? That is a form of self-care. Video games, playing 2K, like those are things that are a form of self-care that might be specific to men in a way that I don't think makes the national conversation, and that's kind of a myth, that one-size-fits-all approach that's self-care. That's not just for everybody. It looks different for different people.
I love that. But Elliott, I want you to counteract that. Go ahead, from a psychotherapist.
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily have anything to counteract that per se, but I think the biggest myth about black mental health is the white world doesn't think we care about mental health and doesn't think we care about things like self-care. And I was stunned when I was in graduate school, literally studying multiculturalism and psychotherapy, and the textbooks actually say black people won't come to therapy, and if they do come to therapy, they will be resistant. I'm actually taught that in graduate school, which is 100% not true, but that is probably the biggest myth that I see about our mental health in this community. You still teach it? Somebody said that?
Well, for me, they as a black man, they say we're unbreakable. They say we don't feel pain. They say that we're tough, we can go through anything. But, I always tell people silence is golden, being able to capture all the emotions and eventually bringing it out, whether it's through prayer or whether it's through crying. Because that's another one, They say you don't cry. That's so weakness. That you're losing respect. But I tell all men, whether you're black, whether you're white, Puerto Rican, Mexican, I say, make sure that you release that. Crying is a releaser. Facts. It's a cleansing.
Facts.
You understand me? Because it really is. I love crying. I cry at good movies. Shit, I cried at Big Daddy. Adam Sandler. But I tell them to release that. It's a cleansing, because when you do, you feel so good. And then you started to realize what's going on. Your mind come back together. When it's being cloudy and so much going on. And we have to take initiative as men to go out there and get the help and stop being so tough. We don't have to be tough no more. That's right. We can sit back, we can relax, we can talk about mental health, because it's the now.
Yeah. Love that. Bryan, you want to weigh in quickly?
Yeah, I kind of agree with what they all say. I think what you want externally starts with you internally. Yeah. And the start of self-mastery comes with self-honesty. So if you feel like crying, you feel a certain way, speak on it.
Yeah.
It's cool. Don't put up a front to the world. I think as a Latin man, first gen, it was more so like, why do you feel this way? You shouldn't feel this way. You got everything in your hands pretty much. I don't think it's that way at all.
Love that.
You feel this way, show it, be you, be authentically you all the time.
Love that. All right. How do masculine norms shape emotional expression for black men? Seeing that you went last, goes, you start. Repeat that. How do masculinity norms shape emotional expression for black men?
Oh, going back to kind of what Deontay said was, you're taught to give this strong external, unbreakable, just because you're a man, you're a minority, don't show no weakness to the world. And that's just not right. We feel whatever everybody else feels, regardless of you're Latin, black, white, it doesn't matter. You feel the same emotions everybody else does, and it's okay to go and talk about those feelings. That's the cool thing, is being able to release that and break the stigma, break the generational curses that was put on back then, where it was, oh, don't show no weakness. It's all right to be weak, because right after that, you're going to be strong as hell.
Yeah. And it's human. It's human, right? Like, it's inhuman to not feel when you don't know that you have the bandwidth, or you're not allowed as a man to feel these types of emotions. You don't even name it. And there's nothing worse than having a sickness that you haven't even diagnosed within yourself. I remember when I first started reporting on true crime, I didn't know that the cases, talking to people who had on the worst days of their lives, right? Somebody died, and you're interviewing these people hours on end. These are 12-hour days. And I would never name the feeling of being an empath, of knowing that hearing those stories reminded me of losses that I experienced in my own life, reminded me of all of the things that hurt me. But before I went to therapy, I didn't name those feelings. And I remember one day my partner was like, my girl, like, you came home from work and you haven't spoken all day. I'm like, what you mean? She's like, you haven't opened your mouth. You've been really distant. I was like, well, let me talk to somebody about this. I said, have you ever dealt with the emotion of the fact that you've been talking to people for 12 hours? Tears, crying, investigations, the emotional turmoil that it comes to be a journalist to tell these tough stories. And once I named it, I was able to deal with it. And when you don't look at yourself as human and give yourself permission, you're not going to deal with it. So we got to name it. And I think as men, we're real slow to do that sometimes.
That's what excites me about therapy, is that you learn things that you could bring back home, and tools that you didn't have before, and that's kind of like almost the permission and the tool to feel that way, you know what I mean? And that's what excites me. Like, when I found out that I was bipolar, of course, yes, at first it was a little bit shocking, but then I was like, you know what? Now at least I understand how my mind is working, and now understanding it, I know how to navigate, and that excites me, and that's what I always like to put across. But go ahead, Elliott.
I mean, when you talk about the black male masculinity, I think Deontay speaks to it better than any of us up here.
Totally.
Absolutely.
And the reason I say that is Deontay comes from probably the most masculine sport that we can think of. And you're not, in your profession, you're not allowed to show weakness, vulnerability, or any of those traits. So to hear him up here saying, it's okay to cry, and it's a part of my life to cry, and it's okay to go to therapy, and it's okay to be vulnerable, I think that does more to eradicate those ideas that masculinity is like a show. I would love, if, like, as my job as a psychotherapist, I would love it if masculinity became synonymous with authenticity. And things like vulnerability, tears, crying, those things are just part of the human experience. And if this man, who literally destroys human beings for a living, and he wants people to fear him in some sense in the ring, is able to, like, be his authentic self, which includes those parts of you, then all of us should be able to do it.
Facts. Most definitely. Oh, man. For me, it's like the moment we stop running from our emotions, it's the moment we rise into manhood, you know? And all of us kings, all you kings know that you know, you must face your fears, that when you channel pain, it turns into power. So when I'm in the ring, you know that I'm channeling my pain. I go through a lot of stuff. You know, you may see me in the ring doing my thing. God have blessed me tremendously, you know, in and out of the ring. But the devil is busy. He's on a constant battle with me, with my family, with my children. You know, many times he comes to seek and destroy, but I always tell the devil, I'm like, you can't have me, I don't belong to you.
Woo! Love that.
I'm a child of God. So I channel all that pain, everything I've been through, everything that I go through, and everything that I'm going to go through, because we can't prepare for rainy days, but we who say we can't try to? Who said we can't, sit back and think about certain things? Because to obtain the good, to understand the good, we must go through the bad.
Right.
That's the only way you know what good really is. So challenge all that. Challenge your pain and turn it into power. Because we are powerful.
Deontay, I really love this next question, and I want you to lead off because we just touched on this a little bit in the back, so I want you to continue what we were talking about. And I think this is really important for people in the audience who might be thinking or might be on the fence about seeking therapy. Yeah. How has seeking support changed your life?
Man.
Let's go.
Go.
Tell it authentically like you did that.
Yeah, for sure. I'll tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Let's go.
It has changed my life tremendously, with the things that I think about, even my smile, the way I carry myself, because it was at one point in time in my life that I was dealing with betrayal. I don't know if anybody dealt with betrayal, but it's worse than a heartbreak, especially when you got people so close to you, like family members. And I done had maybe for the past 4 to 5 years, I done probably had about seven to 8 people betray me, from the least closest all the way down to the closest. You talking about countdown to the number 1, number 2, and it'll be like, I can't believe you too? You too? And then you go to all I done for you. But after all of you done for them, only goes out of one and not the other. Because especially when they're dealing with family, they feel obligated and they feel entitled to what you have. The fruits of your labor, when they don't have to put nothing in, but they want to receive everything. And betrayal was tough for me. It broke my heart into a million pieces. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what to turn to. I'm a strong man, and you have to be strong, especially when you enter in the ring. When you got another man across from you want to hurt you just as bad you want to hurt him. So may the best man win. But this battle on the outside was tough. It was a championship fight. And I was already losing without even getting in the ring. Because I couldn't believe what was going on with me. I couldn't believe what was happening. My good heart, it was taken advantage of. The things I've done, my good deed, it just went in vain, I felt. Until God came and said, boy, you better pick yourself up. I made you a king of my army for a reason. I made you a king for a reason. I gave you the mindset to think like that for a reason, no matter what people may say or what they may do. Don't let that get in your way. Because I got a plan for you. I had it ever since you was young. My grandma told me I was anointed by God. She said that I wouldn't be able to see life like my peers. I wouldn't be able to talk. I wouldn't be able to walk. I wouldn't be able to do things like them. And she was so right. And to the point where I went to a place where I never thought I would have to, because mentally, as a man, growing up in society, before understanding that the myth that was told was lies, I had to get myself together. You talking about a man that didn't believe in going and talk to nobody or seeking help or whatever, because I isolate myself. I feel that I can cure and heal myself with my mind. And then to a certain extent, you can. But this point in time, after seeing 2 therapists and a sports psychologist, I'm back, baby. I'm back. So man or woman, if you're seeking any type of help, man, I'm telling you, if you're seeking any type of help, you need anything, you need to talk to somebody. Lower your shield. It's okay. Black men, it's okay. Go get that help that you need. Because we need you. I need you. Let's go, baby.
I'm going to let you guys answer. I just want to piggyback that what one of my good friends, Elliott, just said, that you're talking about a machine that goes into the ring and pulverizes people. And if you listen to the beginning of how he just said that he was betrayed, you could still see it in his eyes, the betrayal. And he didn't go out and put hands on anybody. He went out and seek therapy. Yeah, man. I just thought that there's been a lot said today. This is, brother, that is powerful, man. Black men, listen to that. Trust. All right, guys, go ahead. Do you want me to repeat the question, or you remember it?
I ain't got nothing to add to that.
Okay.
You might as well go on to the next.
All right, let's go to the next one.
Ain't nobody backing that up now.
I was gonna do that. I was like, yo, drop the mic, but I'm like,
pass the
I'll
collection.
the chance.
You can drop the mic. He was getting so intense, I thought he was gonna hit me. I was like, oh shit.
But you know what? It's okay because the next
We all looked around like, who next?
next one.
I'm not.
How powerful it was, right? I told you. All right. Next one is a good one though. What strategies break the stigma in black men's circle? And I just want to highlight, not because Charlemagne put on this show, but one of the strategies are things like iHeart and what Charlemagne is doing, and that breaks the stigma in black circles. So give a round of applause for iHeartRadio and Charlemagne, yo. All right. What are some strategies that break the stigma in black men's circles?
I think the biggest thing is within your circle, especially guys, is, going back to unbreakable, I'm strong, don't show weakness. You could be there for your best friend and be like, no matter what, I love you. That happened to me after the show. I got in a real bad slump, and one of my closest friends came up, didn't text me nothing, just pulled up to my house and was more so like, how you feeling? And nobody asked me that after the show, and I'm gonna be honest right now, I broke down crying. I got dropped in a whole new life that nobody really couldn't understand at that point after the show, and he gave me a hug. He was like, brother, I love you no matter what happens. And I think the energy transfer from that, he doesn't even know till this day, that flipped the switch in me where it's like, it's okay to feel this way. So I think being there for somebody means a whole lot more than what you think. Just matter of asking, how you feeling? What can I do for you?
Facts.
Away from everything, especially in the public eye, I think we all are, Deontay, whereas when you feel like someone's there for you and you're there for somebody and it's like, all right, this brother got my back, that means the world. And I believe in energy transfer. I believe in frequencies just transfer on. So I think being there for one another means the world.
Strategies. What strategies?
I think that's 100% it. I think sometimes it's checking in, just calling your people and saying, are you good? But the thing that we don't think about enough is when you call someone and be like, yo, just checking in on you and your mental health, brother, are you good? We don't think about what's supposed to happen after that. Like, so what happens when somebody says, no, I'm not good? Actually, I'm going through this. And I think Bryan said it perfectly. Sometimes just showing up. You know, like when somebody experiences a loss, we don't often know what to do or say after my condolences or, you know, I feel for you. I think we need to put, one of the strategies that I've implemented is not trying to have the right words, but sometimes your physical presence is enough. Have you ever sat with someone who experienced a loss, was being in one of the most darkest points of their life? They feel alone, and they might not have the words to articulate it, and you can't say anything to make them feel better. But their presence alone, just touch, this alone can be a life-changing thing and make somebody feel like they have community. I think that's one of the illest strategies, being community and touching our brother and being present with them.
Thanks. And piggybacking off that, where it's like, if somebody asks you, how you doing? It's easy. The easy route is saying, I'm good. How about you? Right. Instead of saying, nah, I'm feeling this way, bro. Like, this is how I'm feeling. I'm not feeling good. Yeah, it's automatic. Like, I'm straight. How are you? Nah.
We saw it in real time. Yeah. Like, backstage, Trent asked Deontay, like, yo, how'd you get into mental health? And he opened his wound just like he did on this stage. And that alone made us all, I believe, feel comfortable to come into a room full of people and say, well, shit, we got to all bear it all then. Yeah. And those type of, if you can do that with us, then how much more can we do that with people that we've known in our lives, just being present and being in community with one another as men.
Strategies?
Yeah, I think there are two things that I would say are real important strategies. And the first one is sharing. And what I mean by sharing is, like, if y'all go to a place and they have, like, really good pizza or really good chicken wings, you're going to post on social media, like, this place has dope chicken wings, go get that. But if you go to a therapist that helps you, you need to talk about that too. You need to share that, like, I went to a therapist, that therapist saved my relationship, helped me with my kids, helped me with my depression, or whatever. Like, we have to share that these are the things we're doing to make a difference in our life, which is why these brothers up here, it's so important that what we're doing is talking about, like, these are the things we did to make a difference in our lives. And the second thing I'd say is advocation. Because I actually don't care when my friend, if I say to my friend, how you doing? And my friend says, I'm good. I don't care. I know my friends real well, and I can look in your eyes and tell you aren't good. So I'm gonna tell you, I'm coming to pick you up, and we are going to the gym to play basketball, and we're gonna talk. I'm gonna come pick you up, and I'm gonna bring you to this friend of mine that's a therapist. I am not gonna let you lie to me and tell me that you're good. I'm gonna advocate for your wellness. And we have to share and advocate if we wanna break these cycles.
Wow.
Deontay?
Man, there you have it. You know what I mean? There you have it. You know, when one king to another king opens up, it allows another king to feel safe to open up as well. It allow us to be able to breathe. You know what I mean? And we just got to start normalizing therapy. We have to start normalizing having our peace, and we got to make healing the new hustle.
Yeah.
And sure. And think about that really annoying exercise Trent did when we got started.
Yeah, promote. Yo, on my Instagram, I promote being at the club, and when I leave therapy, I promote that I just went to therapy. And the food, and you got to promote it all.
But here's why it's so important. All of you, I know I have everybody. You get people, they send you clips. I saw this really funny clip, watch this. They share these videos with you, watch this. No one has ever shared a video with me. Man, there's this therapist talking this stuff right here. Y'all have to share that stuff.
So what I did was good in the beginning.
It was annoying.
It's all good.
It can be good and annoying.
Well, share that.
But
Okay,
share that. Like, really honestly share it in the same way that you share your favorite movie or the same way that you write reviews.
Yes.
Like, really talk about therapy. Like, that's the only way we normalize it, is to talk about what we're doing.
Even if that's the beauty of life, helping each other grow.
Facts.
And that's literally what it is.
All right, let me get this last question, and we only have 2 minutes, so I'll keep it like a quick answer. What needs to change in our institutions to support men's mental health? Let's just go down the line quick.
Well, I mean, not to be rote because you said this already, but genuinely, conversations like this, spaces like this is an institution. And the more that we support it, what is this, the 5th annual year that Charlamagne has put this together? This right here, this is an institution, and this is something that we have to keep supporting. And it's not just us on stage. And I'm seeing it happening upstairs when people are talking to one another. All of you all are now in community with one another. Everybody out here has something to offer to the person sitting next to them. And so as far as supporting this institution, this is one of the first steps in actualizing exactly what you're asking
What
about.
needs to change in our institutions?
Yeah, I think the same thing's just being there for one another. There's a support behind it, and it's okay to not be okay and being there for one another. I think that's the biggest thing. It's not a competition. The beauty of life is growing and helping each other grow.
Deontay?
Yeah, I mean, I think what all those guys said as well, you know, I think the jobs, schools, you know, our environment need to open up as well, too, you know, to the things that we want to do, our humanity. You know, being able to, like they said, touch each other, give affirmational words. You know what I mean? Just, you know what, a hug and say, I love you, bro.
Yes.
How far that goes. You know what I'm saying?
Even if you think I'm annoying, I love you, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
My whole
Things
life,
like
I didn't
that.
think Deontay Wilder would hug me while Trent was kissing me. Thank y'all.
There, your dream has come true, my brother.
That was not the dream.
And it's on YouTube.
That was not the dream.
What needs to change in our institutions to support men's mental health?
You know, one of my favorite phrases from our culture is "We all we got, we all we need." And if you ask me like what needs to change in our institutions, I think we need more of us talking to more of us.
Come on.
And like, for example, going to graduate school, I never once in my entire graduate experience had a black professor. And I never once had anybody that I felt like no one's coming to save us. We gotta save ourselves. We gotta save each other. And if we can provide services within our circle and within our community, that's where true healing will happen. Because I'll tell you what happens. When Deontay Wilder, a macho man, goes into therapy, and let's say that therapist is not of our culture, the first thing he has to overcome is the judgment that that person is gonna have over him. So we have to be able to just talk amongst ourselves because there are certain experiences that he has had that I understand as a black man. There's certain things that we know about each other just in our community. So if we want to change our system, we have to be in the system. We have to contribute in the system. We have to keep it within the system.
Love that.
Yes.
Gentlemen, that is our time. It was a pleasure sharing the stage with y'all, and it was a pleasure being in front of y'all. Hey, Instagram, Snapchat, mental health, man. Be proud of that. Let's go. Hey, I'm giving away 200 copies of my book upstairs right now. 200 free copies of my book upstairs, all right? Love you.
Our phones are amazing, but they're taking something from us. Our time, our focus, the moments that matter most. Have a great day.
Are you serious? Rise and grind, New York City.
No one cares.
What?
Your waffles are getting cold.
What the
Put your phone down. Watch where you're going. Look up.
Hey guys, just left the West Village. I'm on the High Line. Oh, hello. Just, yay! Wait!
Put your phone down. You're here to scroll at a ball. At Noble, we don't want you addicted to your phone. We want you to live more. That's why we'll pay you to use your phone less. So for heaven's sake, please do yourself a favor and put your phone down. 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 Our phones are amazing, but they're taking something from us. Our time, our focus, the moments that matter most.
Ready? We can start? Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Thank you all for being here. I am Vanessa Rossetto. I am a registered dietitian and the CEO of Clean Health. And it's such an honor to be here with this amazing panel exploring mind, body, and soul food, paths to healing. I think actually what makes this conversation so special is that we're bringing together every dimension of healing. And I'm just so happy right now that we have everyone in one space. So I will allow these amazing individuals to introduce themselves, and then we'll get started. Queen Afua, let us start with you.
Thank you. I am Queen Afua, and I'm a holistic healer, and I'm also a pioneer of wound wellness, and have been actually the mother of the Global Sacred Village. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
Thank you. And I love Queen Afua. I bow to you always. So my name is Anita Kopach. I am the author of The Wind on Her Tongue, that's released on Charlemagne's imprint, Black Privilege Publishing. Woohoo!
Love it.
And that's my second book. The first one is Shallow Waters. I am a spiritual psychologist and also a Tantra coach, so I know a little bit about what goes on in the bed.
Hello, everyone. My name is Serene Prince. I'm a licensed psychotherapist, a parent wellness strategist, and the visionary founder of Orchard Blue Counseling Services. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Well, I'd like to say I'm Deontay Wilder, the former world champion, but he got such a big round of applause. But I'm just Dr. Joe Puma, an interventional cardiologist and the founder of Sorin Medical.
It's going to be really good, guys, I promise. Okay, let us start with this. This question I'm going to ask, so hear me out. How does culture shape your approach to healing? Each of you works at the intersection of heritage, identity, and health. And culture is such a powerful force in how we understand the body. So Queen Afua, I would love to begin with you. Your work is honoring ancestral practices that many of us are now rediscovering. How does culture guide your healing philosophy?
Culture is the pathway. Culture is the way. There's hip-hop culture. There's plantation culture.
That's right.
Then there's liberation culture. And that's where I come in at with Sacred Woman. Sacred Woman and Men Heal Thyself, they come together because if you have a healthy woman and a healthy man, you have a healthy community. But there's a pathway to it. There's what do we do to get that health? We do our meditation, we do our prayers, we use food as medicine. The very foundation of my work is to use plant-based living. So that's African culture. When I did my research on writing the book Sacred Woman, I realized that everything that we call holistic is actually African natural lifestyle. So I used the African natural lifestyle, Ma'at, to actually be the paradigm, to make a paradigm shift from a sick mind, body, and spirit to a well mind, body, and spirit. And so we go from gateway to gateway, which are actually the cosmology of your own life. So from food as medicine, to movement as medicine, to family healing as medicine, that is the medicine that gets us on our path to wellness. That's the culture.
I love it. Serene, in your work with families, how do you incorporate culturally responsive care?
You know, culture defines how we experience pain and healing. And in therapy, you know, it's not a one-size-fits-all. So it's important that I help families and parents, you know, reconnect to their culture. When parents come to me, you know, sometimes they're just overwhelmed. And immediately they're thinking of, well, maybe I need to do what my mom did, even though it may have been painful sometimes. And I share with them, you can preserve culture, but you can redefine it, right? So let's, you know, take it apart and then pull out pieces that are helpful, that feel safe, and then utilize that part of your culture and integrate into everyday life and how you parent your child.
I really love that. And Dr. Puma, how does medicine evolve when we allow culture and community to inform how we deliver care? I think it's really important for the community to hear it from you, because I feel oftentimes when we go into the physician's office, we hear a lot of, don't do this, don't do that, you can't have this rice and beans, and it's like, okay, but that's, I eat rice and beans every day. Right now in Valley Cottage, New York, there is rice and beans on my mother's stove, even though maybe she made a lasagna. So how do you interact with these patients?
That's a great question. I think the biggest challenge we have today in healthcare has been the corporatization of healthcare. You know, while the Affordable Care Act was supposed to give everyone insurance and solve many issues, what it really did was it ended up pushing most physicians now to work for big systems. And so what we've lost is that consensual relationship between the patient and the doctor. Because the way you break those barriers down, you know, I've been practicing many years, and it takes a while, but after a while you realize it's not my job to tell the patient how smart I am. It's my job, because God gave me 2 ears, to listen more and to talk less. But in our current environment, you know, doctors have 10 or 15 minutes to see a patient, or you have a physician extender seeing the patient who then reports to the physician. So my experience is and by the way, with respect to culture, culture's a two-way street. I see patients of many different cultures, and the worst thing I could do is stereotype them, right? If you see a patient who's Spanish, for instance, not all Spanish people come from the same place, and they have, although all Dominicans have rice and beans every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, so don't be mad at me, that's just the way it is. But it's a two-way street, and really the only way is to spend time listening, understanding the people you're caring for, understanding their social situation, and never making judgments about them. So I never say, don't do this or don't do that.
Yeah, agreed. I always say in our practice, I'm never going to take anything away from you. I'm just going to show you how to do it. This makes people trust us. Okay, soul healing often happens in the community. So what role do culture, spirituality, or collective traditions play in restoring mental wellness? Anita, you often speak about storytelling as communal medicine. So how do shared narratives help us heal?
Yes, absolutely. So I believe, and many of us believe, that our medicine has been passed down by storytelling for millennia. Millennia. This is how we learn our lessons. And speaking of culture, since we were talking about culture, a lot of times our medicine as culture has been stripped away from us only to be sold back to us. So all we got to do is ask our grandparents, like, oh, well, what herb did you use to heal this, right? They know the medicine is in our family. When we disconnect from our ancestors, when we don't remember who we are then at the mercy of the medicines that are being sold to us that a lot of times are actually poison to our system, not even tested on us. So basically all that to say is that we have the answers inside. If we connect to our ancestral gifts that have been passed down, we can connect to those answers.
Queen Afua, you've built community circles around wellness and sacred practice. So how does that collective energy support transformation?
When one comes to see me for healing and they're in a high stress level, usually they're isolated. Sure. And that contributes to them being stressed out and getting sicker and cancer of the breast, cancer of the uterus. And I always look at them and say, you need a community. You need a circle. I just set it upstairs. I said, this is your new circle. And I would see the light come through them as soon as we came into, and the circle is the power. In our culture, the circle represents power, and in the dot, that represents that we're unified, and now we teach each other.
Yep.
And then in a circle, I'm not always the leader.
Right.
Someone else is the leader because we all have gifts in the circle. So when we use all of our gifts together, then we're empowered economically, emotionally, spiritually, relationship. When you have an issue, you go to the circle of women, your grandmother, your mother, and they tell you, don't do that, do this. That's a circle. Sometimes we have a circle that we're running from. And if you see that there's an issue in the circle, maybe you need to add your piece to the circle to make the circle more in alignment for what you need. Yes. So we all need circles. That's our culture.
Yeah. Right. Yes, yes. I think I notice as a clinician that oftentimes we're separating body, mind, and soul and working in silos instead of together in order for us to heal. So I'd like to hear how each of you sees this integration in your work. So I'll start with you, Dr. Poomer, and work our way down.
Healthcare is integrated. You know, listening to your answer. You know, facts are facts, right? But what people feel culturally, what they've grown up with, that's religion. And that's their own personal religion. And it impacts how they consume healthcare. It impacts how they approach their body. It impacts how they interact with healthcare providers. And so if you know, and sometimes, by the way, strong faith is a disincentive to get healthcare.
Sure.
Right? So you really need to understand they are all connected. All we can do as healthcare providers, or what we ought to be doing as healthcare providers, is having patience. We're not going to solve anyone's problem in one visit, and building a relationship over time with patients, my experience has been that's the best way to keep them in good health, to make them feel better and live longer.
Yeah. Serene.
Yes, you know, let's start with, as a licensed psychotherapist, when clients are coming to me about anxiety, sleep deprivation, I want to know about, you know, your education. I want to know about any medical conditions. I want to know about your religion, your spirituality, because all of these things inform how you cope. It lets me know if you're disconnected from them, how they can impact your mental health. And when you think about the mind, body, and spirit, you think about a house, right? So there are 3 corners. So if you're coming to me about your mental health, I also need to know how your soul and your spirituality is doing, how your body is doing, because I can help you along the path of managing anxiety. But if you're dealing with ailments or you're neglecting it, then that's only going to return you back to where you first start.
Agreed. Anita.
Thank you. So there was actually a study that was done about how having a community that is outside of your family, right? Having your family as well, but having a healthy community is one of the main things that makes you have a happy life. Being able to be joyful and connecting with your tribe, your people. And that is one of the most important things in healing all of it, your mind, body, and your soul. A lot of times we think, oh, it's about us. We got to go in and heal. And we do. We do got to do that sometimes. But when we have someone as a mirror in front of us, if we're triggered by something in that person, a lot of times it's because we have that inside of us. And it's something that's unhealed. Like if we're like, ooh, that person's a victim. Like they keep talking about like what, you know, like this person hurt me, this person da-da-da. Oh, wait a minute. Where in my life am I victimizing myself, right? It's having those mirrors around us, because when we have other people, it's not going to always be perfect, right? And we have to figure out, oh, how do I navigate around different types of personalities? That's what life is about. We don't want perfection. We don't want AI, like just people around us, right? We go out to connect. We go out to feel other people's medicine. Every single person in here has a unique medicine, a unique soul, and a unique word that they're putting out to make this place beautiful. That's what we're here for.
I love that. Queen Afua.
When I think about mental wealth, but first of all, to say it's usually mental health. So you feel there's a big problem just on your mind. But when I see mental wealth, that means my mind is ready to go on higher ground, but I can't go on higher ground just mentally, because the physical body connects to how you're thinking. The emotional body connects to how you're thinking. The relationship bodies connect to how you're thinking. The food connects to how you're thinking. So if you charge up with a holistic life, bringing everything into account, then you have integrated a holistic, healthy life, which is a healthy mind, a healthy heart, a healthy relationships, a healthy body. So I think that it's all really one, because our body, we don't have our spirit over there and our mind down the block and then our nervous system over there. We're walking as one container, so it has to all heal at the same time, and that's holism.
I love that. Thank you.
Yes.
I started my business to democratize access to registered dietitians. If you know anything about registered dietitians, 98%.
My mother was a dietitian.
Thank you. That gives me that help. Yes, 98% of registered dietitians are actually white women, and that's not reflective of the gen pop. And I decided I was going to cater to the 99%. So I went out, I raised capital. Blue Cross Blue Shield is one of my main investors, and I just wanted people to not feel attacked about their cultural foods. And so how do we start addressing that reality while we're still honoring culture and tradition, right? That people are really curious about, can I eat that rice? Is it okay for me to have grilled grapefruit? Can I have cookies? How does it work? So Queen Afua, your teachings bridge ancestral food and modern nutrition. So how do we keep that connection truly alive?
Well, I birthed 7 books at one time. All from one concept, that food is medicine. And the first book actually really answers that. It's called Soul Food, Vegan, Vegetarian Soul Food. But inside of that, one of the main chapters says it's called the International Soul Food Kitchen. So I have adopted a Caribbean soul food, Southern soul food, Spanish soul food, African soul food. So basically, all soul food is the aroma of your family. There's a certain aroma that gets you together. There's a certain flavor that you can get in herbs and spices of your family. So you know if you're using curry, you're going to be getting, it's going to come from the Virgin Islands possibly. So depending on the food that you eat, that connects you to your family. You can actually have healthy choices and still have that delicious sweet potato pie without the sugar that's going to break your nervous system shock, without the white flour products that's going to clog up your colon. So you just start taking out the part that doesn't serve the body well and learning all the alternatives. So you can have everything, basically, but on the highest frequency, non-GMO, non-fast, non-microwave, so, and not fried, and then you start to eat healthy, and then your body starts to recover, and you get your vitality, your youth, and your clear mind back from the foods that you eat.
It's amazing. Dr. Puma, yes, agreed. From your perspective, what are some of the ways that we can democratize access to true nourishment, right? Meaning food, care, and those healing practices in all the communities.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you're trying to democratize dietitians, because if you go on my Instagram, on Surin Medical, you say, I'm democratizing healthcare, heart healthcare, okay? I mean, everybody deserves high quality care, and it's just ridiculous that it's not happening right now. The way we're doing it is we're decentralizing care. Instead of, I left the hospital, I was the clinical chief of cardiology at Mount Sinai Morningside. I left the hospital, I started my own practice, and we are opening small offices in all underserved communities. We have data that can show the incidence of heart disease, blocked arteries, congestive heart failure, atrial fibrillation, vascular disease, and the number of providers there. So most of our offices is where there's an imbalance, and by being able to do that, we've been able to recruit these amazing docs, and instead of sitting in the big university like most of us sat most of our career, they're going out to these communities. So it's not a high-tech way, it's a low-tech way. But one of the high-tech ways, there's lots of high-tech ways. One is what you're doing. There are real ways using the internet. As we were discussing backstage, we have a blood pressure monitoring program. We enroll about 100 patients a month. We're at about 1,600 or 1,700 patients. What blows me away is about 40% are not well controlled. So we didn't even know that before we started using technology. So there's low-tech ways, really the hard work, and high-tech ways, but we are working hard every day to try and integrate them to improve healthcare in all the communities we serve.
It's amazing. And Dr. Puma and I will share war stories about working at Mount Sinai. We learned a lot, though, I promise. I know we're coming up on time, so I'd like to ask 2 more questions. I think that stress, anxiety, and depression often show up in the body, heart palpitations, fatigue, inflammation, cancers. We see it every day. So, starting with you, Dr. Puma, how do you see the mind-body connection playing out in your work?
The number one reason patients come to the cardiologist, they have anxiety. Number one reason, not even close. We all remember when we were in grade school and we had a big math test coming up, right? When we were in 5th grade, and our stomach was churning, and we were I remember my mom knew I was faking it. She thought I was faking, but I wasn't. 10 o'clock in the morning when the test was over, I felt great. I wanted to go outside.
Yep.
The mind controls the body, but the reverse is also true. The body controls the mind.
Right.
So many diseases, postpartum, post-heart attack, post-bypass surgery, 20% risk of depression. It affects your daily life, and in so many ways. So they are connected. There's no way to break them apart.
You guys better go see Dr. Puma in the city. I'm telling you that now. Serene, how do emotions show up physically in the families that you're serving?
When parents are bringing their children to us, oftentimes children are complaining about stomach aches and headaches. And this is associated to overwhelming and intense emotions that they can't find words to. So in therapy, we're utilizing some grounding methods, breath work, art, tapping, to help them release what words cannot. And so adults also experience this as well. But I also want to tie this into, because my philosophy, a well parent raises a well child. And so when we talk about the mind, body, and spirit, it's important that parents understand that they are part of their child's own mental health healing and wellness. It's important that parents, that when you are signing your child up for soccer or whatever that sport is, look at yourself. What movement or exercise are you signing up for yourself? When you're making that appointment for the pediatrician, ask yourself, have I made my appointment for my physical exam, my mammogram, my cardiologist, my dietitian? These are the things that you have to look at, parents, when you're bringing your child for therapy or when you're noticing that your child is struggling. So holistic healing is not only about attributing it to your child, but attributing it to you. Because when you embrace the philosophy of a well parent raises a well child, you're not only healing yourself, you're healing your child, the family, and the community.
Yes, thank you. I love that. I say this all the time. Mothers will call me and say, I'm having a hard time breastfeeding. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I said, the child doesn't need to be breastfed. The child needs his mother to be happy, calm, cool, collected. Don't worry about it. And they're like, oh, okay. I'm like, yeah, I'm absolving you. I breastfed both of my kids for 1 year each. Doesn't matter. I promise, guys. Okay. Anita.
Yes.
We've explored the deeper spiritual and systemic layers of wellness. So I just want to bring it back to the daily. So for you, how does nutrition, movement, and mindfulness intersect into mental wellness?
That's a beautiful question because all of it, all of the different layers of our existence, for me, what I do for my clients is I have them pick weekly a mind, body, and soul goal. Something that is small, something that is attainable. When we pick small goals and we attain them, something rewires in our mind because we feel like, oh my gosh, I did it. Even if it's like when I wake up, I'm gonna take a nice deep breath and say one thing that I'm grateful for. And if you do that for a week, something changes, right? And then you continue to do it, we begin to really grow on all of the different levels, mind, body, and soul. Everything is connected. As we see each part of us healing and growing, we're gonna see it happen in all of the levels. So that is really the holistic part of the healing.
I love that. I think this panel is so amazing, and we were so lucky to be with everyone. This panel brought a lot of cultural resonance and communal, and it's deeply personal for me, so I'm so glad I was able to be a part of it. So in these last 30 seconds, each one of you, what is one thing, sentence, word, book that everyone here can go and do or grab or consume that is going to help them on their holistic journey? Starting with you, Queen Afua.
Food is medicine.
Amen.
What you eat creates your mind, your heart, your spirit, your relationships. I have 7 books. It's a 7-book series. Food is medicine. That will put you on your path.
Cool.
Starting from your kitchen lab.
Anita.
Awesome. Remember who you really are. Listen to yourself. This is my book that came out this year, The Wind on Her Tongue.
Serene.
I'll say again, a well parent raises a well child, and connect with Orchard Blue Counseling for holistic wellness.
Amazing. And Dr. Puma?
I would just tell everyone, get up, take a brisk walk around the block. Just one.
I love that. I will tell everyone this, right, in the 20 seconds that you have. When you look at someone and you don't think you relate to them in any capacity, then look deeper. And then you'll find how you relate to them, and then the world is probably going to be a better place. Thanks.
Yay. Good.
Focus, the moments that matter most. Have a great day.
Are you serious? Rise and grind, New York City.
No one cares.
What?
Your waffles are getting cold. What the Put your phone down. Watch where you're going. Look up.
Hey guys, just left the West Village. I'm on the High Line. Oh, hello. Just, yay! Wait!
Put your phone down. You're here to scroll at a ball. At Noble, we don't want you addicted to your phone. We want you to live more. That's why we'll pay you to use your phone less. So for heaven's sake, please do yourself a favor and put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down.
Don't y'all let all the energy die now. Are y'all enjoying yourselves? Yeah. This is the 5th annual Mental Wealth Expo. Y'all clap it up for my good brother Charlemagne, Dr. Alfie, and iHeart. Now, we're going to have to wing this session because this session is about love, healthy relationships, and they done put me up here with 2 young folks that ain't even been in not one relationship. And I had to get that out because I'm backstage and I said, how old are y'all, baby? You know how the old folks do, baby, how old are you? So this panel discussion is love, us, and well-being. And I do want to bring the audience in this discussion because I want to hear from some of my brothers. We have 2 awesome ladies that's going to be providing perspective. And you guys are Gen Zs, millennials?
I'm 32.
Are you a millennial or Gen Z?
I'm a millennial.
Oh, are you sure you're millennial?
I'm positive.
Okay, I'm like, you're a millennial, Gen Z. She was like, I'm 32. So I'm Dr. Jay Barnett. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. So thank you. This is going to be fun because normally I'm moderating the panel for the men, and I think Dr. Alpha is like, we're going to downgrade you and we're going to put you on a relationship panel. So, but this is going to be fun. So how many of you may be sitting by her or him, so don't raise your hand, but how many of you are in a relationship? Do the person that you're in a relationship know that y'all in a relationship? Because sometimes you be in a relationship with people in their head and they don't know y'all in a relationship. So, all right, we're going to move it along. I just wanted to set the atmosphere so we can laugh because normally when we're talking about mental health, it can be kind of heavy. So, I'm going to have y'all introduce yourself because you're the youngest. I'm 43, she's 32, and how old are you?
21.
21. Hold up, 21. So, okay, tell me about yourself.
I'm a senior honors finance major at Howard University.
HU? HU?
You know.
Who in here from Hampton? Y'all are not the real HU. Y'all not the real HU. I'm just saying, that's what Howard told me to tell y'all.
Yes, correct.
So you're a senior at Howard. My question to you, are you dating?
No. No, I am not.
Okay, have you dated?
Yes, I have.
You have dated,
Yeah.
okay. And then I'm gonna have you go, and then I'm gonna bring this question to you guys. Morgan, right? And you?
Yasmin.
Listen, I know y'all, but they don't know y'all.
How y'all doing? My name is Yasmin Jamila. I'm the CEO and founder of Transparent Black Girl. We are a global community dedicated to Black women healing, owning their power, and easing into wellness. Make sure you follow us across social media. I've been running my brand for almost 6 years, and so we host quarterly events, and we also have a really strong digital community presence where we talk about all the things, including healing and relationships. So I'm honored to be here today. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. So, you say you have dated, Morgan. So the first question and it's kind of hard for me to ask this question to a 21-year-old, and no pun intended. How do you prioritize your mental health in your relationship? When you were in a relationship, how did you prioritize your mental health?
I think it's important to give context. I'm the oldest daughter, and I'm the only daughter, so that comes with like its own set of things to think about when you're like going into a relationship. And when I was in one, I think one of the things that was really important to me was like I'm pretty independent, so like keeping my independence while also making sure that I'm giving myself to the person enough that like they still feel valued. So for me, that really looked like knowing when to set boundaries like pretty early and saying like, these are the things that I really care about you. I want to make sure that we can do together, but there are going to be times when like I need a break or I may need to like be by myself, and like saying that early and making those boundaries very clear was something that was like super important to me and like made it able for us to like be healthy and like together for a while.
Wow, that is so good, mate, Morgan. Now, I want to backtrack because some of y'all, when you hear I need a break, some of y'all break. Now, let's clarify that because somebody today is going to say, babe, I need a break.
Yeah.
Is that break like I just need some time to myself, or that break means I'm finna slide over here into Keisha's DM that I've been checking out? I'm just being honest. So when you had that discussion about needing a break, what was that for you?
I had to go into it with a lot of confidence because one of the things that I was like worried about was, if I set this, is it gonna change the course of our relationship? Are we still gonna be able to like enjoy each other the way that we have without having had this conversation early? So it was definitely going into it with a level of confidence and also being clear, like very clear. A break does not mean we're going to other people. A break just means
there
like,
it is. That's what I was looking for.
Yeah, no, a break is not anyone else. A break is just what it is, a break.
Did y'all hear that? Brothers, did y'all hear that? Break does not mean going to somebody else. Break just mean we just need to kind of give each other a little space. And let me say this. I think breaks are very healthy in relationships, and I'm so glad that you clarify that because sometimes breaks give you guys time to really see each other. Sometimes when you so close up on each other, you can't see each other. And sometimes the break creates space so you can identify where you guys are emotionally, where you guys are mentally. I think the biggest challenge that we have today is we have people going into relationships but don't understand how to relate. I'm gonna say that again. You're entering relationships without understanding how to relate. And I'll give you this other piece of wisdom. The relationship you have with yourself will determine the relationship you have with others. So I think that's important for us to really to really elaborate on that, because so many people are trying to navigate these dating streets. Some people saying that's pee in the pool. I'm serious. Some people are saying the pool is contaminated. Some people are saying men don't want to date. They don't want to go up to women. They don't want to do all those things. I want to hear from you. At 32, do you feel that dating today is harder than previous years, and why?
Definitely. I think just by nature of like social media, right? Like now you can be on the apps, right? You're on the apps, you being lazy. There's a lot more opportunity for you to swipe and look online versus, now what they call meeting folks in the wild, like going out, actually meeting people. Like, I think the pandemic also as well, has an effect on that. People are not going outside as much. You're leaving your job. If you're working a 9 to 5, you're going back home. You're not really being as social. And even just in like parties, like I went to a wine bar the other day and I literally watched the event, and the women were sitting on one side of the bar, the men were sitting on the other, and like there was no interaction whatsoever. And I was like, this is not what it was like to go out, like in my 20s. Like, it was a totally different experience. So I definitely think that is different, but I also think in terms of mental health, like one of the things that I think for me in terms of dating that's top of my list is dating someone with emotional intelligence, and making sure that we're both self-aware, that's something that's very important to me. I think now, like as conversations about therapy and healing and all that are happening, like that we have more knowledge, I would say, than we had maybe 10 or 15 years ago. But there's also, I think a slower pace sometimes for certain people in terms of like wanting to be open to therapy. So I think if you can just start with being with someone or dating people with just the same level of emotional intelligence as you, or someone that's even committed to unlearning, because as we grow, we're learning, but there's also unlearning too, right? And I think as we get older, we can become very, this is how I am, this is the way I am, right? But are you committed to unlearning as well? And so I would say that's something that's really important to me too.
Oh, I love it. Man, y'all are killing it. I love it. I love what you said because, emotional intelligence, in a simpler term, is really having the awareness to understand not only what you feel, but also to be respectful to how others feel, if I can say it in a simpler way. I think a lot of us think we are emotional intelligent, but we're just being more emotional. And I'm going to say this for the brothers, because I often hear brothers say women are so emotional. Brothers, we're just as emotional as women, so let's stop it. We just express it differently because most of us as men don't have the language to articulate and to convey what we actually feel. I think it's important that if you are dating intentionally and looking for love, it's important to date somebody who understands their emotions and who understands their triggers. If you don't understand your triggers, you do not need to be dating. Stay out them folks' DMs. Stay out them people DMs and stay out them folks' bed. Okay, next question. I'm being honest because here's what we're seeing. People are crashing out at rates that we've never seen. And particularly in relationship because no one knows how to manage what they're feeling. So when they feel, it all comes out. And if you don't have a healthy way of managing how you feel and have the awareness to know what to do with what you feel, because if we're honest, feelings may be real, but are they really accurate? Because they changing like this New York weather. We're in Jersey, sorry. It's changing like this weather. So it's important to know that. I want to ask you guys, what are some effective ways to communicate your needs and feelings without causing conflict? And particularly for black folks. I'm going to tell you why. Because sometimes we can be honest and people get mad because you're honest. She said, oh my God, say it. Yes. Sister, I'm praying for you because you sound like you in something. I'm praying for you. I don't understand, I overstand.
Yeah.
So what are some effective ways to communicate without making it seem like I'm
Yeah,
tacky?
so I haven't had a good crash out in a while. Thanks to therapy. God is good, No, seriously. So when you said crash out, like I think for myself, so I'm also an oldest daughter, one time for the oldest daughters. That's a whole other level of responsibility. Honestly, I feel like as an oldest daughter, like I'm 30, but I'm really like 55 up here, okay? Like seriously.
Come on.
Like just that level of just responsibility in itself. But I think ultimately, I'm an oldest daughter. I'm also an Aries. And we also black folk, so which means I got that fire. And so it takes a lot for me, I think, just as I've grown, as I've matured, just learning before I respond, not even just in relationships, right? Because I also think that it happens across the board. But I think as it pertains to relationships, if you want to be in a relationship with calm, everybody talks about like be your peace, right? But like, are you peaceful? Like, are you a peaceful person, right? And if you want to be in a peaceful relationship, that means you have to be peaceful as well. And so I'm committed across the board, from relationships to my friendships to business to having uncomfortable conversations in a peaceful manner. Because a lot of times what happens is if you're finding yourself in situations with conflict, you're upset. And so if you're upset, you might not get across what you're trying to say in the best way. And so just taking a step back and asking myself, like, what is the goal of this conversation? Is the goal for my feelings to be heard no matter what? or is it to have a resolution? And so I really do try to choose my words carefully because, you know, I could get a little feisty, so I just try to have to calm myself before.
Please choose them carefully. Morgan?
I mean, I would just echo everything she said, and I think the only thing I would add is just, I always, whether it's like romantic relationships, just friendships, if we're having some type of discourse, I always want to ask, like, am I here to listen or am I here to like actually speak and give advice in the situation?
Come on, Morgan.
And you have to set that clearly, because if I jump in and give you advice that you don't want to hear, then like this can go in a very different direction. So making sure that I ask that question on top of everything you just said is probably the best way to have like those important conversations while also making sure that everyone feels like heard and valued when you're actually speaking to each other.
Man, y'all clap it up for these young ladies. They are dropping some wisdom. You know, one of the things that I think that is important is when you're in a relationship and there is conflict, and I know, particularly if you grew up in a household where you did not feel seen and you did not feel heard, you can find it very difficult if somebody says, I need a moment to process. I highly encourage you that when you are here, let the person know, hey, I'm here and I think we should revisit it. That's healthy. I don't think that's toxic, because we're calling things that are toxic that are really healthy. I think it is healthy for someone to say, listen, give me a moment and allow me to breathe, allow me to process, allow me to walk away. And here's the thing. This goes for both men and women. When that person walk away, please don't chase that person. No, I need to talk about this now. I'm not going to bed. My mama told me we don't go to bed angry. Listen, you're going to have to adopt some new tools if you want a healthy relationship, because the truth be told, the majority of us did not see healthy model in our homes. You don't get healthy just because you say you want healthy. You get healthy because you begin thinking healthy, and that leads to behaving healthy. It's healthy because the last thing you want to do is say something that you don't really mean out of anger. And I'm going to give you this nugget, ladies. This is how us men work. All the brothers can back me up on this. When you hit below that belt, it's hard to get that brother back. Because I can forgive you, but I can't unhear what you said. And to the brothers, and I'm going to say this because as a therapist, I've had to work with so many people that have experienced infidelity. When that happens, she may say she forgive you, but she's never going to forget how that pain felt of betrayal. And too many times, we go into relationships with our arms up like we're entering a fight rather than our arms open like we're ready to embrace each other. So rather than standing shoulder to shoulder as partners, we're standing face to face as sparring partners. So we have to really shift the dynamic of how we see ourselves so we can see each other better in relationships. Because conflict is normal in relationships. This whole, if he got it, ladies, listen, I gotta say this. If a brother challenges you on something, that's not sassy. Stop calling us sassy because we're challenging you. Stop it. Men are starting to open up. Let us open up. Because before we open up, girl, he won't talk. I don't know what he's feeling. Tyrell, what's wrong? What's wrong? What's wrong? Oh, he don't want to talk. Like, now we talking, allow us to process it. We don't talk like you guys. Allow us to process. We're all just trying to understand this thing. Last question before we close. I'm excited about this question. Vulnerability. Ooh, somebody said Jesus. Morgan, how important is vulnerability to you?
It's very important, because if I need to talk to you about something, I need you to do the same thing to me. If like that's a level of trust that I feel like everyone needs in any type of relationship, not just romantic. Like you can't be in such a like intense emotional connection with someone and not be willing to kind of like open up and share with them if you expect it to like last and like grow together. So I think it's like probably one of the most important things.
Oh, that's good.
It's very important, but I also think you should know when to be vulnerable as well.
Come on,
right?
say that again.
You need to know when it's time to be vulnerable, right? You don't want to be on the first date talking about childhood trauma, right?
Please
no,
don't.
Seriously.
Because I'm going to get up and I'm going to say, have a nice night.
Because
Please don't tell me what happened at 10.
Because essentially what, and not only that, essentially what happens is that when you're vulnerable with someone too soon, what happens is then you create a trauma bond, right? And so you feel emotionally connected to this person and you feel like, oh, we have this vibe. Like, no, you opened up to this person way too soon. And now you have what is called a false sense of intimacy. And so you want to make sure that you're building something with someone and that you're sharing in a safe space. And so that to me is more important than the vulnerability is like, is this a safe environment for me to be vulnerable in? Am I safe here? Is this a person that can hold space for this? Or is this someone that's just going to listen and tell me something that happened to them too, and you just want to make sure that you're in the right situation, right? You don't want to be just opening up to everyone. You want to make sure that your vulnerability, your story, your trauma, your pain, all of that is in the right hands. So you just want to make sure that you pace yourself as you're opening up.
Ooh, man, that girl, man, y'all, listen. I got y'all going because I was like, man, they young, they don't know nothing about love. But I was doing that because I was wanting to pull it out of you. Man, I love what you guys shared. I think it's so critical because here's the thing. Before you are vulnerable, you want to make sure that person have the capacity to hold your vulnerability. Because if you do not have the capacity and the mental wherewithal, you'll take my vulnerability and exploit it. And it's just like anything else, right? You know how you look across the street and you know how you look before you cross the street? Even though that walking sign on, somebody probably didn't get the memo that the light is red. You want to do the same thing in a relationship. And let me tell you this, safe does not tell you it's safe. You identify safe. Yeah. You know, when people come to me, man, this is a safe space, man, you can open up. I know it's not. I know it's not. I can't trust it. It's almost like somebody telling you, I'm really a good person. Nope, you're a demon. Because you don't have to say that it's safe. You can identify that it's safe. And let me give you this other tidbit that I think that is important. I say this often to the brothers. I'm always transparent, but I am selectively where I am vulnerable. And brothers, I want you to take this with you. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to give you something too, ladies. We all know the story of Samson. You do not want to give your information to the wrong woman who do not have your best interests. And she take what you shared and weaponize against you, and now you find yourself in an emotional blackmail where what you shared is now being used against you. So brothers, be careful. Because let me tell you something, ladies, there's some brothers out here that's really looking to be loved. And sometimes we can be open too soon because it feels so good. One thing about safe, it's not about feeling good, it's about feeling seen and heard without judgment. Ladies, be careful how you share yourself, because sometimes you think sharing yourself is going to get you his heart. This is for both of us. If we want more healthy relationships in the black community, we have to become healthy as individuals first. And healthy does not mean that you have to become perfect, because you don't get what you want out of a relationship, you get who you are. You get who you are. Relationships are mirrors. So if you want healthier from other people, you have to become that. You have to embody peace. Brothers, I hear brothers all the time, I just want her to be at peace. Man, create that peace within yourself, good brother. That way you can identify the hell in her. And vice versa, ladies. Create that security within yourself first so you can identify the insecurity within him. Too many times we're giving to people who don't have the capacity, and then we're disappointed. So if you want healthy relationship, and it's not just about finding love, relationships are really about finding you. And we're out of time. Y'all have something? Y'all have some last remark? Because I'm looking at this clock, and I just want to make sure I be respectful and make sure iHeart bring me back again. Closing words, 30 seconds.
Right.
What do you want to say to the audience?
Prioritizing your mental health will literally change your life. I would not be here on this stage if I did not prioritize myself. So you can follow our work that we do. We do work for not just for Black women, but also Black men and our collective. So you can follow us at Instagram, Transparent and Black, and you'll find our pages on all platforms. Thank you.
Boy, come on, HU!
I think the last thing I would just say is make sure that you're aware of like who around you deserves what it is you're willing to give them, not just your vulnerability, but also just like you as a person. Do they deserve your time? Do they deserve your energy? And do they deserve to be in your space? So yeah.
Y'all cooked today. Thank you, guys. And listen, I'm going to leave you with this. Your thoughts are going to determine your experiences. If you don't think any better about yourself, you won't have any better experiences. And that is attached to your mental health. Y'all give these ladies a round of applause. Thank you.
Our phones are amazing, but they're taking something from us. Our time, our focus, the moments that matter most. Have a great day.
Are you serious? Rise and grind, New York
No one
City.
cares.
What?
Your waffles are getting cold.
What the
Put your phone down. Watch where you're going. Look up.
Hey guys, just left the West Village and I'm on the highlight. Oh, hello. Just, yay! Wait!
Put your phone down. You're here to scroll or to ball? At Noble, we don't want you addicted to your phone. We want you to live more. That's why we'll pay you to use your phone less. So for heaven's sake, please do yourself a favor and put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down.
check. Here we go. Hello again, everybody. How are you feeling? Amazing. Wow. One more time for Dr. Jay Barnett. That was an incredible conversation. Well, we are going to lock into another incredible conversation that I am so excited about. But for those that were here for my first conversation, let's do the same thing. Let's just take a second to reset. I know we've been getting a lot of amazing information. It's going to a lot of places in our bodies and our brains. So if you can hear the sound of my voice, I want to invite you to get uncrossed in your seat. Straight spine, soft belly. And we'll just ground into this moment with one nice, full, deep breath, okay? We're gonna do it in through the nose. We'll do it out with pursed lips. It'll sound like this. Let it come all the way in and all the way out. All right, go ahead and begin your deep inhale through your nose. Hold it at the top. And let it out. All right, how are we feeling? Good. Let's begin this next restorative, juicy, full conversation. So today's conversation is on effective communication. How many people wish either the people around you could communicate better or would like to find more tools for really, really excellent communication? Yeah, thank you. Well, we are in for it because we have some incredible women here to teach you in a very deep way. In this conversation that we're having, we are going to be unpacking emotional processing, emotional language, the art of communicating without reacting or getting defensive or deflective. And we're going to explore how to expand our emotional vocabularies to really be able to talk about what and how we are feeling. So I am so deeply honored to be joined by two powerful teachers for this conversation. Our first amazing teacher and panelist is Dr. Key Hallman. She is an entrepreneur and author of No One is Self-Made. Dr. Key empowers leaders all over the country and world to build sustainable, community-rooted businesses through her village model. Thank you so much for being here. Yes, thank you. We are also joined by Danae Logan. She is a Los Angeles-based marriage and family therapist and author of Sovereign Love, a guide to healing relationships by reclaiming the masculine and feminine within. Danae blends shadow work, mindfulness, and ritual to help people show up more authentically in both relationships and self-connection. Thank you. So together in this conversation, and before I get into the questions, we're going to unpack what does it even mean to effectively communicate? What does that actually look like in daily practice, whether it's in our families and homes, in our partnerships, our relationships that are most important to us, or within our communities and the work we do and the people we work with. So as a baseline to really just kind of set this conversation is just to acknowledge that many of us never learned emotional vocabulary or tools for healthy communication for so many reasons. But none of those reasons do we have to be in judgment of ourselves because of. Communication breakdowns often come from our own unprocessed emotions. Reactivity usually happens, defensiveness, deflection. And effective communication, when we really get to learn it and be in practice with it, it strengthens not just our personal relationships that we have with people, but also the health of our greater community and the organizations that we are a part of. So I'll start with you, Dr. Key. Many of us seem to really default to reactivity and conflict. What practices help us, or how do we begin to kind of train our minds to help us slow down a little bit so that we can respond to the people near us with clarity?
Devi started with a hard question, y'all.
That was hard. That was honestly hard.
So thanks, Devi. I love you for that. This is what I would say. I think we all have been in a moment where we responded by how we felt more than processing how someone will receive what we're saying. So just to make it plain, when you start doing this and then you hit send real hard and you take a moment and you're just like, oh, I wish I could take it back. The reality is that we all have been there. If it's people that we work with, if it's people that we love, folks that we just like sometimes, we all have been there. And we also see it a lot on social media, where we used to call it Twitter fingers, but I don't think that exists anymore. What works for me and what has worked is that I'm always in a place, am I honoring myself in how I respond to this? Am I honoring the vessel of me being here? Am I honoring myself when I hit respond or if I hit send? Because my greatest responsibility in how I'm trying to show up in the world is I want to show up in the world honorably. So that takes a level of discipline to operate in honor. So if I can give you all just a practice, before you hit send, you ask yourself, and am I honoring the highest of my being in this response? And am I responding from a place that my light is being illuminated, or is this my darkness? Every time I've asked myself those questions, I've had to sit my own self down, put the phone down, what Erykah Badu said, and I've had to say and wait before I respond. So I hope those two things that you can just ask yourself at the highest of my vibration, am I responding? Am I honoring myself in how I'm responding?
That is so, so good. Could I ask you a part A to that question? What about in the moments that we're convinced we're right? Where you feel like, nah, I gotta get this off because I am right in this situation. I know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. We can be right, and we can be right with love. So we're not responding from a place of being inauthentic, even when we're right. But is this weapon of our response, is it meant to cause harm in our rightness? These are the questions that we have to ask ourselves. So I am emphatic when I think I'm right. I just want y'all to be clear. I sit up different too. I'm ready. But my work has given me the discipline that whatever I put out in the world, while I'm right, while I'm direct, I make sure that it's coded in love. Love for myself, love for how I want to be held, and also if this was reversed, the way that I would want to receive that type of love, because we give, we give, get. So I'm always in the cycle for my own self-love and self-preservation.
Thank you. Yes. I'm like, these are the things that like change our lives, you know? Like, that's what I've really been taking away from this whole day is like, these are the things, this is what changes your life, you know? That moment.
I'm laughing when you were talking, Dr. Key, because I think they say you know you're growing when you're like typing out the whole text message and then you start to press delete, delete, delete. Like, you know what? Never mind, because that's growth.
Yeah, right? When you can make the paragraph like a sentence or get on the phone and kind of talk it out.
Yeah.
Or not respond at all in that moment.
Yeah. Right. You don't have to.
You don't have to.
And sometimes in situations, it's like, I don't have to participate with this. This may be the energy you're giving me or what you want to bring out of me, but it's always that choice.
Can I add to that? I think there's an old couples therapy adage, and I primarily work as a couples therapist, and it's, do I want to be right or do I want to be in relationship? And a lot of times we're prioritizing the right and sacrificing the relationship and the harmony in the relationship, and I think a lot of times the truth doesn't need defense to the extent that we think it does, right? And so it's like, things sort of play out. But if I need to be right, a lot of times what I'm doing is creating ruptures in our relationships that aren't really necessary for us to create.
So true. Thank you. I'll stay with you right now, Danae. How do cultural or generational differences shape the way people communicate their emotions? And how can we bridge that space, that gap, with some compassion? And I mean in the sense that we're all navigating intergenerational relationships, right? Like certain things we wish our parents could just get. Like, why don't they get that? Or our children, or, that plays such a role.
Yeah, I love that question. I think that's something we were talking about earlier today, that there's a lot of ways that in terms of mental health and the processing and the tools that so many of us are doing so much work to accumulate, our parents didn't have a lot of access to that. Our parents' parents didn't have a lot of access to that. And it was sort of, a lot of times in other generations, children should be seen and not heard, and like compliant child is a good child and things of that nature, that we understand more about what that's doing to our emotional health. And I think we have to give a lot of grace to those of our family members who, for really good reason, a lot of times we're afraid of seeing a therapist, or, there are aspects of what that meant within Black communities that we have to be really honest about that haven't been talked about in terms of our mental health. And so, yeah, I mean, we're here and we're doing this work, and I think at the same time we have to, I don't know, just sitting here and seeing all of you gather to talk about mental health makes my heart so happy, because I feel like 10 years ago, there was still so much stigma, especially in the Black community, around I'm struggling, I'm overwhelmed, I'm really struggling with anxiety or depression or whatever it was. And I think we're really doing a lot of work to put a lot of that down.
Truly, like the way the landscape has shifted, the way that we're able to be with each other, or just call a thing, sometimes is like what we were held back from. Dr. Key.
Yes, I would love to add to that. We were having a conversation upstairs. What I want us to understand, to even be in this space today, is a privilege. So while we're here to talk about wellness and to get tools about being well, the work stops if you only came here to get something and to not share what you learn. The gift of our generation is that we have the privilege to know different communication modalities. We have the gift of being able to convene on a Saturday morning and talk about our feelings and talk about communicating. I think if we take life in these moments as gifts and privilege, then we would have grace and compassion for the things that our mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers and fathers could not do. Because I don't know about y'all, may my mother rest in peace, but on Saturday, she was working. And I can imagine that she dreamt of spaces like this, and even in her wildest dreams, she didn't even know in the moment of her working and trying to take care of my siblings and I, that when she was exhausted, she was a little bit more harsh. When she was fatigued, she was a little bit more impatient. When life was wearing her down, sometimes she just couldn't physically show up because her vessel was tired. And I sit on this stage today, and I know the gift of my life is the privilege of her sacrifices. And so what I am welcoming for my nephews is the privilege of them understanding that their greatest self exists if they take whatever I pour into them to take it further. So I'm hoping that you all take these moments today, all these conversations, drop it in your household and in your friend group. But then you have to push and say, we gotta take it further, because that is why we are here.
Yeah, wow. I know we can all deeply relate to that. And that level of grace and compassion is so important, especially in our family relationships, because those really deserve it. Our family relationships are often the hardest. It's our spiritual curriculum. It's where it starts, But being able to bring grace to that and dignity to the experience and understanding is so important. I want to ask, so we're giving tools, right? Like we're talking about some tools and processes, but ultimately change doesn't really occur without a greater sense of personal self-awareness of like what your role is in life, in your conversation. So from each of you, I'd love, and I'll start with you, Danae, what is the role of self-awareness? How important is that personal work overall and how you're able to do this more community-based interpersonal relationship work?
Yeah, I think the personal work and what I like to talk about a lot is personal responsibility is everything, because we can only meet another to the extent that we've met ourselves, right? So if we're really hard on ourselves, it's really hard for us to be compassionate with other people. And I think whenever we're talking about relationships, so much of what we were talking about, like we want to be understood, we want to be right, we want to sort of defend the truth as we see it. And something I come back to a lot is like our work is to pause and really try to understand before being understood, right? And if I can make that the practice and almost sometimes like the mantra, seek to understand before seeking to be understood, like I will say that to myself in relationship dynamics, but there's something that happens when we're in a relationship with another person, when they feel seen and heard by us. Instantly, the defenses start to drop a little bit and we start to soften and we're in conversation versus sort of like battling it out to be understood, right? So I think if I can just really take responsibility for myself, and am I really trying to understand, or am I demanding that this person see me and understand me? It just takes things a lot further in terms of how we're able to connect with one another.
Yeah, deeply. And I'm hearing too, it's like how holistic it all is, right? It's like as you're doing that work with another, you are also doing your own inner work, whether you're thinking about it or not.
Yeah, and I think if we see these relationships as sacred mirrors a lot of times and showing us to ourselves, and when I feel really activated or when I feel really like it's difficult to tolerate the way this person is showing up, why is that so hard for me? Can I be curious, not judging myself, but like I always say, if it's hysterical within me, there's something historical. And so there's probably a story I'm telling myself about something I felt in the past that is really making me defend against what I'm feeling now. But normally it's not about what's going on right now. It's something historic that's coming up for me, you know?
Yeah, that's so important, that distinction. Like, what did I walk into the room with already?
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Key.
So y'all, I do this thing every night before I go to sleep, right before I say my prayers. I ask myself, were there moments in the day that I could have been more kinder to myself? Were there moments in the day that I should have just given myself a little bit more grace? Were there moments in the day that I wish I did not hit send on that text? Were there moments in the day that the way I showed up was really not my highest self? And however I answer those questions, were all my yeses or all my nos, I look at it as an invitation that awareness only grants and opens the door for us to be better. So like if you have the muscle of awareness, like you see yourself, like you know it's you when you being toxic.
Okay.
I'm gonna say it again, hold on. Y'all listening? We know it's us when we're being toxic. If you are aware in this moment, like, oh, that was me, I want you to see it as an invitation that you have the gift of awareness to know it's you. And it's only an invitation for you to do better next time. And also to go back, and for me, I apologize. Because an apology is also an invitation to tell another person it was me. And I hope when I'm mirroring back to another person that when it's them, it empowers them to do the same. So I do these self-assessments, but I want to share that there were times in my life when I did my own self-assessments and I was far too hard on myself. People who are perfectionists, and I'm a recovering one, that A++ student, that was me. But I had to learn that even in the pursuit of perfection was distorting my own vision for who I'm meant to be. And so I had to let perfectionism go, and I just allowed myself to just be emphatically who I am. All the nuance and even the contradictions, all the love and all the light, and in moments, some dark. because we all are a spectrum. But because I do this self-assessment work, every time I wake up in the morning, I look at myself in the mirror, I know the woman that's looking back at me. And I love the person that I'm seeing. The work of us doing our work is truly just an invitation so we can be our highest selves. And then we get to meet people along the journey, and we get to show up illuminating our light. And the thing about light, is either gonna run somebody away or draw more people to us. That is the gift of light.
Ooh, come on. Wow. Yeah. Why is accountability so hard for people?
You know, it's funny, as you were talking, Dr. Key, I was thinking that there's a part of us, our ego mind, a lot of times, the part of us that I always say edges God out, or edges like that we are beyond just these human bodies, right? That we are eternal. But it really struggles with the idea that I'm not diminished in any way by being wrong. And that we came here, I believe, in this life school to like work it out, to be fallible, to make mistakes. And that's a part of how we learn. We can't learn by being perfect. Like, I have not learned a lot in my life in the times when I got things perfect. It's normally when I fall a little short and I forgive myself and I try again next time. But I think when we're apologizing and taking accountability for the way that we showed up, and like, I wish I would have done that better, it's really like, I have to remind myself, no part of me is diminished by being human. Like, I think a lot of times we're expecting something beyond our humanity, and it really requires that we start there. Like, yes, I'm going to mess up. That's a part of this human experience, you know?
Yeah, yes, and we all will, yes.
I think, many of us was raised in how American society is designed, even from our early years in school. There's rules for everything. There's right, there's wrong. And so much of what we were taught about accountability only came up in moments that we were told we were wrong. So when accountability shows up at our door, I think our defenses come up because we feel that we are wrong. And when we respond from a place of being defensive, ego is there trying to protect us. The little girl, little boy who was always told that they were wrong or different shows up trying to protect us. So there is so much in society that has constructed the way that we think. And because we have been programmed to think and feel a certain way, that we don't even understand that I'm showing up in this way of not being able to be held accountable because I am in my programming. So what helps me is that I'm always working to deprogram the societal things that has been seeped into my spirit. I'm always working to say, Key, is this how you feel? Or is this the way you were taught to feel? Is this in the essence of your being? Or is this the product of this societal programming? But accountability, if we can tell ego to chill out for a minute, if we can tell our little girl, little boy selves we're safe, and to say that accountability is only an opportunity to level up. Every time that I get to be held accountable for something that I could have done differently, it's only a door for me to level up. Don't we all simply want to level up from day to day, season to season, year to year, birthday to birthday? So if you look at accountability as an invitation to level up, I tell you all to accept it fully, because we're meant and we are here to be our highest selves. So hold accountability as an honor. And tell your little girl, little boy self, you're good, you're safe, you're understood, and even if you didn't handle it right in this moment, you're still okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Thank you both. Like that's some of our deepest work, and I think nothing kind of destroys the trust in any relationship more than like passive apologies and passive accountability.
Yeah, and I think so often why we don't apologize or we're not accountable is when we apologize, a lot of times instead of the like acceptance of the apology, the person will be like, yeah, and when you did that, da 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 da, and so it's like, not going
I'm
to
not
feel
doing
that
that.
way, right? Because all of us will defend against shame, right? And I think you're right. So often our earliest experiences of accountability were really rooted in shame. And as humans, no matter what, we're going to defend against the way shame feels at all costs. So understanding that I don't have to be perfect in order to be worthy of love. I'm already worthy. But yeah, it's a little bit like even when people can't receive my apology or my accountability, I'm proud of me for doing the thing and saying the thing, you know?
Yeah, because we can be wrong and not be like fundamentally wrong as a being, as a person, you know? Like one of the things that drives me nuts is when people will be like, well, if you did feel any kind of way about such and such, then no, you made the person feel that way. Like, let's just say it, you know, and create space for that. But thank you both so much. We are so close to being out of time, but I'm gonna push my limits because I really want to get these questions. So my next question for each of you is, what does it look like to begin to reset or repair a relationship that is stuck in constant miscommunication?
Constant miscommunication. I'm thinking about that. You know, I think if I'm in this space where I like to do a thing called segment intending, right? And it's a little bit, I really am intentional around the energy that I want to bring into this space between me and this person. I do this with my kid's dad a lot, right? So it'll be like, before I go into this, I know that we have a tendency to get in conflict about certain things. Now, there are ways that a lot of times when we are in our most intimate relationships, that's actually where we feel safest to get in these patterns of conflict. Any of you who have children know when you drop them off at, you know, primary school or whatever, they'll be like, oh, that child was a little angel. And then they'll bring the child back to you and you'll be like, what angel? Because they'll be like, rah, when they get home to you, because you're their safe space. You're the place where they can be their fullest expression of selves. But that's actually what happens in our most intimate relationships as well. It's like, I feel safe sometimes being not the highest self version of me. But if we can really say, like, I want to take so much responsibility for the way that I am showing up in our dynamic, the energy that I bring, and we can do a pause and reset at any moment. So I will tell couples all the time, if you feel like I've lost it and I'm just not proud of the way I'm showing up, just say to your partner or whoever the person is, you know what, give me 5 minutes. I'm going to run to the bathroom. I need a pause. I need a break. And then, like, have another moment of like segment intending. When I go back in there, here's how I want to show up. Here's the way I want to be energetically in our interaction. And we can do that at any time. But I also think curiosity is really important, because when we're really intimate with someone else and we know one another really well, we think that we know what they're going to say before they say it, and we start finishing their sentences and rolling our eyes. It's human stuff when we're really close to people. But if I can just be so curious about your experience and what's happening for you and not draw my own conclusions, I think that's how we break those patterns of communication, because a lot of times we're not curious, so we're not really hearing one another anymore, you know?
Wow, that's so good. Yeah, so true. I'll ask you both, what is one daily practice that you recommend from each of your teachings and books? Which, by the way, if I haven't said this already, both of these women have phenomenal, phenomenal books that are out. So I really encourage everyone to get on their pages and order the things. But what is a practice from each of your teachings that the audience can start today to kind of get them into a space for better communication, but also just a better lived experience?
In chapter 6 of my book, I talk about, and for entrepreneurs and small business owners or builders, even folks who are in corporate companies and say, you know, I'm just trying to show up differently. I wrote a book with how we can do that as a collective, how we can move away from individualism, because I think it has led to the breaking down of our community, and how do we get back to collectivism. While a lot of my work is centered on economic liberation, what I know for sure is that if we do not take care of our minds, body, and spirit, the money is for naught. We can't invest and over-index in wanting our business and our endeavors and our careers to scale, but we don't want our souls to scale up. So I write about these things, but I share the things that I do. Devi opened with one of the things that I do, especially when I get stressed, or if I am getting ready, and if I'm having a tougher conversation with someone that we do not communicate the best. I always take a deep breath, because that deep breath centers and calms my nervous system, and it's me back in my body again, and I remember who and whose I am in that moment. Another thing that I do every day beyond me taking my deep breaths, and if you can and you have access to it, and if your body allows, I go outside and I go for my walks. Y'all be out there hugging trees and everything. But my walks center me, the things, and I don't listen to anything, I don't talk on the phone. I'm just allowing myself to be freely disconnected but connected to the source. And while I'm a deeply spiritual person, so I always feel a part of my journey is I'm always looking for God in the things. So seeing in the spring flowers blooming, I feel like I see you, God, and I know you see me. And I look at these trees, and magnolia trees are my favorite things. When I see the face of God, and it centers me every single time, y'all. So things that we have power, we can control our breathing. And when you find yourself about to go there, you about to say that thing, always remember your higher self and take a breath and hold it for a moment. You got to remember who you are. And if your life allows it, and if your body allows it, if you can get outside, if it's not every day, I deploy upon you to get outside and take a walk around your neighborhood, wherever you may live. And while you're not, if you can, disconnect from talking to people and allow yourself to be heard and held by nature and by God. This helps me. I'm only here today because I have these practices.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I think for me, the most effective tool in my toolbox, honestly, is radical self-compassion. And I think my entire life shifted the day that I decided that I get to be a work in progress. And I always say, I forgive myself for everything. I forgive myself for the person I was 5 minutes ago. I'm a new Danae, and I think with every breath, we get to begin again. And that's the power of really being in presence, right? And that everything is here to teach me. This is my soul's curriculum, I believe. But yeah, I think in the world, so much of the chaos and the polarization and the real difficulty seeing other people, I think, comes from how much we demand perfection of ourselves. And I think the extent to which I can be compassionate with myself, I just find myself able to be so much more compassionate with those around me. So yeah, I think if we can just decide, like, you get to be human, you get to fall short and forgive yourself and begin again as many times as you need to, forever and ever, amen. That to me has been the game changer.
Thank you so much. Yeah. The practices each of you shared, I mean, they really are life-changing. And I just want to share with everyone here, sometimes we think our story is too hard or too dark, or the thing we're going through with ourselves or with the person with us, that it's so big that stopping to like be with nature or take that breath or take that moment, that can't do it. That just won't be enough to heal or fix this. But the truth is, like, that is really, those are the only things that really can, because it's about you being in your body, observing your life, having your experience. So they are just such essential things to consider, to slowly add into your life. That breath we did when we came out, 15 seconds, you got 15 seconds, right? We can spend a couple minutes on ourselves and our bodies, because Lord knows we give our energy and we give ourselves to so many other things that we don't get an investment back on, you know, like scrolling or binge watching. But thank you both so much for this powerful conversation. And I want to further echo before we leave this stage, you know, even using these tools, you might get it wrong sometimes. but it's practicing. It's doing it different the next time. It's not getting it wrong and then just saying, well, this is the way it's gonna be. This is how I am. It's every time you get a chance to practice, you get to experiment with these tools and these new ways of being with the people in your life and with yourself. So I just want to shout out one more time, Dr. Key's latest book, new book is No One is Self-Made, and Danae Logan's book is Sovereign Love. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Devi, what's the name of your book?
Yes.
I have a new book out too. It's called Living in Wisdom, and it's a guide for embracing grief and developing self-mastery. So grief is constant, joy is there too. How do we make harmony with both in our life? Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Our phones are amazing, but they're taking something from us. Our time, our focus, the moments that matter most. Have a great day.
Are you serious? Rise and grind, New York
No one
City.
cares.
What?
Your waffles are getting cold.
What the
Put your phone down. Watch where you're going. Look up.
Hey guys, just left the West Village. I'm on the High Line. Oh, hello. Just, yay! Wait!
Put your phone down. You're here to scroll at a ball. At Noble, we don't want you addicted to your phone. We want you to live more. That's why we'll pay you to use your phone less. So for heaven's sake, please do yourself a favor and put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down.
Doing? We getting to the end. This is the last one. Y'all all right? All right, awesome. All right, we got 25 minutes. We're gonna start the clock because I don't want to keep y'all too late. I think you're really gonna appreciate this is a treat. These three young men, one you've seen earlier today, but all three of these brothers, we're gonna put them in the foreground. I'm gonna stay in the background. We're gonna talk about intergenerational mental health among black men, among our brothers. So I'm gonna introduce one at a time. We're gonna start, we got three generations. We got Gen X. Can I get a shout out for Gen X? Gen X, whoop, whoop. All right, we got millennials represented. Where the millennials at? Period. And we got Gen Z. We got any Gen Zers in here? Yes, yes, all right. So we're gonna start. I have my phone because I wanna give a proper introduction. So this first brother, you all know him. He's a Gen Xer like me. His name is Mr. Jason Wilson. Come on out, Jason. Jason is the author of 3 books. Come on out. Cry Like a Man. You can sit there. Cry Like a Man, Battle Cry, and The Man the Moment Demands. Master the 10 characteristics of the comprehensive man. Give it up for him. After we finish, Jason is going to be signing his books, so don't forget to stop by if you didn't get a chance earlier to up there and get one of his books. Next, one second, we have my brother. He is a delightful human being, Mr. Dometi Pongo. Come on out, Dometi. Dometi is an award-winning journalist, media host, a very compelling storyteller, and best known as the face of MTV's acclaimed docuseries, True Life Crime, and as host of The Exhibit, where he talked about aspects of working with the Smithsonian and just teaching us all about the Smithsonian and the beautiful things they do there. All right. Finally, we have a young man, our Gen Zer. You'll figure it out when he comes out. His name is Miles Noble. Come on out, Miles Noble. If you hadn't guessed, let me give you a hint. My name is Dr. Alfie Breland Noble. Hint, hint. Miles is a freshman at the one, don't hate, the only, Howard University, HU, nope, yes. And he's a soccer player, a former soccer player. So we're gonna have a seat and we're gonna get into this. I got my scarf because I'm sitting in the middle and sitting down low. All right. There you go, cover them legs up. Got my church cover, all my church folks in here. All right, so we're gonna start, and I just wanna thank the gentleman for being here again. This idea where I want to start across generations is talking about, we have a couple brothers up here who play sports or who are engaged in athletics and sporting. And what I want to start with, we're going to start with Jason. Would you like to share any personal experience where the work that you do with your nonprofit and how you teach young men through martial arts, how you have found sports or athletics to be either an enhancement or a barrier for young men when it comes to their mental health?
That's a very good question. I actually have seen sports almost be like a detriment to their development mentally, especially working with a lot of professional athletes. If you don't have the right coach coaching you and teaching you more than the sport, when the sport is over, they struggle with life. And so there's a lot of great principles you can teach in sports that can help a young man develop in life, but unfortunately there needs to be more coaches doing that. As far as martial arts in the Cave of Adullam, the reason martial arts is a little different because I can create an environment to bring out anxiety, to bring out a lack of focus. But in sports, you're taught to hide behind the helmet or hide behind the facade, stay strong, leave it all on the field. And actually they tell you to release anger on the field in some situations. And so then men wonder why as soon as they get angry, they feel like hitting things because you were programmed as an athlete to hit things on the field. And so, but I've seen sports with the right coach help develop great character, great scholars in schools. So it really depends on the coach of whatever field, whether it's sports, martial arts, or even like if you want to be a doctor, if you're interning under the wrong doctor, it could be a detriment.
Oh, thank you for that. So Miles, I'm gonna jump to you, being the youngest member of the group up here. Can you speak a little bit to how you have felt your time playing soccer through not K through 12, but from a young man up to graduating high school? Has that been more of a hindrance or a support to how you look at your own mental health and how you see participating in a team activity either supporting or hindering the mental health of some of your teammates that you played with?
In my personal experience, I would say some of the coaches I've had have definitely deterred my growth as a person. My 12th grade high school soccer coach made me fall out of love with the sport, but I had to think to myself and with my mom, and she helped me realize that no matter what anybody else says to me, it's only me who's in control of my destiny, and I have to kind of move past the people who are telling me I can't do certain things and just look within. But on the team aspect that you brought up, I would say that a constant reminder that I deserved my spot on that team was going into the locker room every day A lot of the kids on my team kind of felt, not in similar ways to me, but they felt that the coach wasn't always there for them. And I felt like the biggest part of playing a team sport is the team. You get to build camaraderie with people. You get to, in that locker room, you get to have a safe space that's yours and not for the coaches. The coaches aren't allowed in the players' locker room unless it's like game day. But on practices, you can just come in there and just feel, like Jason said, you just leave everything out on the field, but then once you get back in that locker room, you feel at peace, and anything that troubles you on the way back towards the locker room or out to the field is just gone. Once you get with your friends, your brothers, it's just peace.
Awesome. Thank you, Miles. Dometi, you've talked to, because I follow you on socials, I follow all three of you gentlemen on socials, you've talked to all kinds of men in different fields and different, areas of life, people who everybody knows, people who not so many folks know. And one of the things I would love to hear your perspective on is, as a black man, talking to other black men, do you find that there are these ideas that men are taught about be strong no matter what? No matter what comes at you, you have to be strong. How have you seen that show up for brothers, whether that's in your personal life, people you know, or some of these folks who are out in the public eye? And does it harm or help their mental health to have to carry this idea of be strong no matter what?
Well, first, I'm glad you didn't ask me a sports question. I ain't got an athletic bone in my body. I'm like, I was so bad at basketball, I got the coach's award. Like, it was like, he said, that man shows up every day. He tries. That's all he had to say about me. But no, I see it a lot. And I come from a family of immigrants, and as a Ghanaian immigrant, a lot of what we're taught is that your value is placed upon your achievement. We come from a family, if you get a 98%, my dad is, where's the other 2%? And so it's always, there's no concept with immigrants of mental wellness in some degree. I think it's changing in this generation, but there's no, I was depressed. I didn't feel like showing up. And some of that became a part of my subconscious, that be strong, always show up, excellence or nothing else, to where when you show up as your best self, when your best isn't enough, you start to say, maybe I'm not enough. And I started talking to other men who had, not just from immigrant backgrounds, just black families, et cetera, who started to equate their bank account with their worth, their achievement with their worth. And the more you start to talk to them and find out what really moves them, you start to ask different questions. Like now when I'm networking, I don't ask, what do you do for a living? I say, what wakes you up? Right? Because what wakes you up might be different than what you do for a living. And so, a lot of the conversations that I have are based in where do you find value and where does your worth really lie outside of your achievement? And that's where the strength truly tends to be.
Oh, I love that. I'm going to pick up on that a little bit, Jason, and I want to ask you, in your travels and in your experiences, you and I were talking a little bit backstage. Can you describe an example of how this idea of pushing through the pain, just push through? Because I'm thinking about this like be strong no matter what. Or my dad had a thing, my son's grandfather, and it was, if you're going to do something, don't bother. And so it was sort of like, so it's like 100% all the time, and I don't always feel 100%. So I'm wondering, in your experience and in the work that you do with the young men, how have you seen this idea of pushing through the pain or pushing through, having that kind of mindset play out? And I'm going to put a little twist on it. Can you talk about it from the perspective of being a Gen X man for you, and then what you see in the younger generations in terms of this idea, that mentality?
Well, first and foremost, there's nothing wrong with the man being encouraged to push through pain. Adversity is what shapes you and makes you stronger if you allow it to teach you. I believe society now are creating a generation of men who are milksop or pusillanimous, who don't have this fortitude to push through pain, which is needed. Even women have to push through pain in life. As far as my generation, we were taught, big boys don't cry. Then when you become a man, no pain, no gain. And then what doesn't kill you can only make you stronger. But the problem is, if you apply no pain, no gain to your entire life, you soon won't have one. Even in sports, if you were playing soccer and you tore your Achilles, I wouldn't send you back out on the field and say, no pain, no gain, let's keep playing. It's the same thing when we're wounded with trauma or emotional loss. We have to take time to heal and recover. If not, we'll never reset. And so, my entire community was built off of, being hard, being tough. I often joke now, if my generation had social media, it probably wouldn't be this generation, And so the men that taught us, they never had an opportunity to express their humanity, who they were. Many of them coming from two generations where their grandfather was a slave. My grandfather was lynched in 1935. And so you think of the man back then whose children were sold off like puppies to slaves, and he had to still hold all of that pain, that emotional loss in his heart so that he can take care of his wife and the children he was able to keep. That passes down throughout generation. And so this is the first time we're able to really talk about this publicly as men and not be shamed for being something other than a man. And now to the last part of your question, working with younger boys, as I was sharing with you backstage, I've never seen so much anxiety, a great fear of failure, depression. And I'm a parent, 2 beautiful children, my wife is here. And when I always follow that rabbit trail, it leads back to the parent. And so many of us are worn out. We haven't dealt with our own trauma. And so our kids basically do more what we say or do than what we say. And so I just believe the balance in training up a young man these days is teaching him to embrace adversity, but when he fails, don't condemn himself, because mistakes can be a great teacher.
Can you say that last part again about mistakes?
Yeah, mistakes are great teachers if you're willing to learn from them.
I love that. I love it. All right, so Miles and Dometi, Jason mentioned social media. And I feel like your generations, millennials and Gen Z, are way more, I think it's fair to say, way more savvy and have a lot more, I think, invested in social media than I think older generations did. And what I wonder is, for each of you, how do you see conversations about mental health in men showing up in social media or not showing up in social media? And do you think the way that we talk about mental health or not in social media impacts your specific peer groups? Whoever wants to start.
You want to start with that, or?
I would say the people that I follow on social media aren't really advocates for mental health. So it's not, the messages I'm getting aren't really about bettering myself as a human. It's just, watch this video, you get a 15-minute dopamine rush, and then you go back to your just boring life or whatever you're doing after. But what I would say about that is I definitely struggle with mental health a lot. I grew in a family with 2 very stubborn old black men, and once something is in their mind, they're not going to change their ways. And I wouldn't say that they taught that to me, but I would say that I always looked up to that and thought that that's what being a man was. So kind of an indirect teaching, an indirect lesson. But then as I grew up, I realized that in order for me to truly be a man, I have to be comfortable with myself, and the only way to do that is to feel what I feel and not feel bad about it. So I would say social media isn't really what exposed me to mental health, but I would say that once I developed that mindset, I started to follow more people who were congruent with that mindset, and then I started to really value not only myself, but what people were telling me. Like Jason said, there's no such thing as mistakes are only teachers if you're willing to learn from them. So all the mistakes that I made when I was younger, I just took those, and then now the life I live, or I try to live, is just basically not looking back, only looking ahead.
I think as a millennial in my generation, we're always talking about mental health right now on social media. Would the millennials in the audience agree with that? And I don't know particularly what it is, if we're now in our 30s, so we're thinking about things differently. A lot of young black men have grown up without fathers, so we're figuring out how to father ourselves and build that camaraderie amongst each other. And I think the conversations, Dr. Alfie, are really focused on redefining masculinity. We were talking about it today, about being emotionally vulnerable, expressing yourself, but on the other end of that, I think a lot of the Red Pill podcasts are a response to what a lot of men view as an affront to masculinity, right? Like a resistance to being emotionally vulnerable, because it's tough. It's much easier to punch a wall than it is to talk about your feelings, right? And that's why I love this perspective, this intergenerational conversation, because what Jason said was so key earlier. He said, no, there's something valuable about pushing through the pain. Because there's a part of me as a man that feels like I'm achieving something if I'm pushing through, if I'm tough. But there's also a balance as millennials as we're learning to say, wait, this is hard. I feel something about this. It's okay to cry and then get back and do it again anyway. And so I think those are the conversations that are beginning to happen. And that's what's refreshing in me. And so I'm hoping that as millennials begin to raise Gen Alpha and Gen Z kids, that we get it right in this next generation and fuse the best of all of the teachings that we've experienced. That's the hope.
Love that. I love that, Dometi. So as we sort of coast into the last part of our discussion, I'm going to have a lightning round at the end. I would really love to hear from you, Jason. Is there someone out there in the public eye whose journey you've witnessed, or I know you work with a lot of professional athletes, or whose journey you've been a part of in terms of their growth as a man with their mental health? Doesn't matter what generation they are. And you don't have to name them if you don't feel comfortable, but what have you seen that inspired you about this person's evolution from where they were a year, 5, 6 years ago to where they are now in terms of their mental health journey? And it could even be like a composite, you know what I mean, of young people you've mentored or worked with that you feel comfortable sharing.
I work with so many. I'm trying to pick one that stands out to me. I have to leave him keep his name from being mentioned, but I've seen him seek me out because what he was going through in his marriage and having to go through a very challenging divorce. But to see him, instead of taking the route that a lot of men tend to take when they're being attacked during that type of altercation or situation, he chose to, of course, be emotional by allowing himself the safe space with me to talk with me and share his heart. But also the key thing when I share with him that the goal really isn't to be vulnerable as men, like we're taught. I was sharing with some police officers out here, and they connected immediately. When you say the word vulnerable, like if a guy came in here, God forbid, with a gun and started shooting, the report would say the vulnerable citizens couldn't get away. So as a man, you should never want to be in a vulnerable position, nor those that you love to be in vulnerable positions. What we're trying to say is to be emotionally open and transparent. And that's when men connect. I get that because for some reason it's difficult for me to be vulnerable because we are innately protectors. And so once he was able to differentiate between the two and then understand that masculinity, the word itself, as you were saying, is just an adjective. It simply means it's a group of attributes traditionally ascribed to men as strength, boldness, aggression, etc. It was never meant to be a comprehensive definition of what a man is. All right, so Harriet Tubman exuded masculine characteristics. So the goal is for us to become comprehensive men. We're strong, but also sensitive, courageous, but also compassionate. And so when you become comprehensive, like this gentleman I'm speaking of, no matter what was coming at him, he was able to stay steady, express his emotions in a moment. I miss my children. And then an opportunity came up for him to even be with his children, which I believe was a divine sign and connection. Because of his position, for this to happen the way it did had to be divine, and he still is not holding a grudge. And so to see a man evolve from only being just masculine, strong protector and provider to also embracing the fact that, wait a minute, I'm also a gentleman, I'm also a nurturer. Think about my generation speaking, we were talking earlier, how many men wanted to be chefs and couldn't be because we were taught by our fathers a woman's place is in the kitchen. Yep. But look at the hypocrisy now because the culinary arts field is now dominated by men. Yep. And so to give this generation the freedom now to be comprehensive, the greatest coaches are what? Nurturers. And so when you understand how you have to have this perfect balance in this manhood, you evolve as a man. And so that's what I would say about him, considering the public pressure and scrutiny he's under. For him to still stay solid and stay to the narrow path has been encouraging.
Thank you for that. God bless him wherever he is. God bless him. All right, so this last little bit of time we have before we close everything out, I want to ask each of you to answer for me the same question. And that question is, what is one thing that you have found helpful for yourself, that you practice regularly in your own life that helps you with your mental health? Whoever wants to start.
I'll just start with faith in God and spirituality. And just we clap for that.
Clap for that.
Sometimes I think we look for other human beings to pour into us, and we all have our place, right? Our therapists, our partners, our mamas, our wives, your husbands, whatever it is. A human being can't do what God can do. It's going to hit a ceiling. And so sometimes just that God consciousness, it doesn't mean that you're going to church every Sunday if you can't make it. It doesn't mean that you might remember to pray every single day. It doesn't mean that you'll always be in your word or whatever your book or your holy scripture is every single day. It doesn't mean that you're perfect. But that God consciousness has been something for me personally that has helped me to find strength in places and times when I'll be honest, I wasn't originally planning to be on this schedule. I said, God, bridle my tongue, let my words edify. So when it's time for me on this stage to not speak and to listen and learn, just as we're all learning, let it be so. When I have something to add, give me what it is that you need me to add. And that prayer, that's in real time. That's faith and spirituality has been the thing that's helped me in that way.
Gentlemen, thank you.
I would say, it's tough to follow that, but I would say that one of the things that I've kind of found comfort in is going to the gym as a means of expressing myself. I don't usually, sometimes I sit in my room and I just think about things, and sometimes those things will lead me to emotions I don't really want to feel, so I bottle those up. But one of the ways that I just get that out is just going to the gym, just physically exerting myself also makes my mind physically exert itself, because a lot of the time in the gym, some of the toughest times are the last reps of your set, and you're telling yourself, I can't push this weight, I can't push this weight. I find that that's not really a physical question, it's more of a mental one. It's how much can your mind overcome, because I think if you can lift the weight at all, you should be able to get it up however many times you want to. So I would say that just thinking that my power comes from within, also from God, but my power is it's not anything anybody else can tell me or do for me. It's something that has to come from me. I find that going to the gym is a perfect way for me to express myself.
Thank you. All right. And you, sir?
They're ahead of the game, right? Yeah. These two, y'all, man, you better do greater things than any of us have ever done. Y'all hear me? Yeah. Serious. For me, I practice what I call the 4 R's every day: reflect, release, reset, so that I can rest. The 4 R's is reflect. Basically, reflect on what's troubling you, what's causing you distress. Then take a moment to release it. That's the 2nd R. Then now you're able to reset, which is the 3rd R. And when I say rest, I don't mean sleep. I mean being in a constant state of peace. A lot of people teach what they think is meditation is actually concentration. You want to be able to take this peace with you wherever you go. Same reason for me is the basis for that is my faith in the Most High, for sure. And so the reason I say you should be able to take your peace with you everywhere you go, because as soon as you categorize peace to a place, you won't have it until you get to that place. So I'm a warrior by every sense of the word. So I'm not drawn to Hawaii. I wasn't called to be there, or the Maldives. I'm called to be in the midst of chaos for what I do for a living, helping boys and families with my wife and an amazing team. Because of that, I have to always be able to keep my emotions in check. Release the ones that are going to negatively impact my day. Some of them is another R. I may need to retain an action. I may have offended my wife earlier. I don't want to release that. I need to retain that so that when I get with her later, I can reset. And so when I say rest, I mean a constant state of peace no matter what you're going through. And that's what I do every day. I'm doing it now as I'm listening to you young brothers. I'm reflecting, releasing, resetting, and steady, and going back to those 3 R's. Then when I'm able to leave here, then I can go back to the last R, which is rest.
Period. Right on time. Can we give these gentlemen a round of applause, please? Thank you. The last thing we want to do is I want to thank you all for being here, and I want to bring out our brother of the day, Charlemagne. Let's welcome Charlemagne. Come on, gentlemen. Charlie, you want to say a few words as we close out?
Oh, no, I'm just saying thank you to Newark, man. We really appreciate y'all. Thank you. This is our 5th annual Mental Wealth Expo. I couldn't do any of this without this woman right here, Dr. Alfie Breland Noble. She is absolutely positively the reason that we're able to put this together every year. Thank you to brothers like Jason for always showing up, man, and hopefully we'll be here again in Newark next year. And I want y'all to leave here and tell other people in the community about this event so next year we can have triple the amount of people in here because we're doing this for y'all. Like, you know, the reason I want this event to be free and we got all these sponsors here is so all of y'all can get these services and these resources because, you know, the hardest thing you hear people say when we talk about therapy and mental health is that, you know, they don't have access to the resources. So hopefully y'all learned something from these people that were on this panel today. And, you know, y'all take that and go out into the community and get started on your healing journey. And if you don't get started this year, hopefully you'll get started again next year. And hopefully we can continue to do more things like this in the city of Newark, man, because I love the Brick City.
Thank you.
Peace.
Our phones are amazing, but they're taking something from us. Our time, our focus, the moments that matter most. Have a great day.
Are you serious? Rise and grind, New York
No one
City.
cares.
What?
Your waffles are getting cold.
What the
Put your phone down. Watch where you're going. Look up.
Hey guys, just left the West Village. I'm on the highlight. Oh, hello. Just, yay! Wait!
Put your phone down. You're here to scroll at a ball. At Noble, we don't want you addicted to your phone. We want you to live more. That's why we'll pay you to use your phone less. So for heaven's sake, please do yourself a favor and put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down. Put your phone down.